Chapter 705. In the Han family, after receiving the news that Yan Feifei had become a saint, Han Wuji, the head of the family, made a prompt decision and immediately led his people to the Tang sect. There was only one purpose, which was to break off the engagement and cut ties with the Tang sect. In the Qi family, after receiving the news that Yan Feifei had become a sage, Qi Guofan, the head of the family, immediately called several core members together to discuss how to deal with it. "What do you guys think we should do now?" Qi Yulong said anxiously, "Patriarch, what are we waiting for? We have to bring Wan back as soon as possible. Otherwise, not only will Wan lose her life, our Qi family will also be implicated." As Qi Wan-er's father, he was naturally worried about his daughter's safety. Qi Yuhu said, "Yes, Qin Haodong just took Yan Zicheng's woman and offended the whole Yan family. Yan Feifei has hated the Qin family for many years. Now that they know that Qin Haodong is Qin Zongheng's son, I'm afraid that they will immediately kill him. The Tang sect is completely finished." Qi Guofan said hesitantly, "But Wan is very stubborn. It's impossible for her to come back with us." Qi Yulong shouted, "This is a matter of life and death, we can't let her be willful anymore. Even if we have to tie her up, we have to tie her up and bring her back. Alright then, let's go to the Tang sect now." Qi Guofan hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he still decided to go to the Tang sect. In the Yan family, Yan Zicheng ran back with a face full of dust. As soon as he entered the house, he saw that everyone in the family was happy, and their faces were full of joy, as if they had just celebrated the spring festival, which made him very surprised. At this time, he happened to meet Yan Zixiao. He stepped forward and asked, "Big brother, what happened? Is there any good news in our family?" "Zicheng, you still don't know, right? Just now, our aunt, Yan Feifei, broke through the bottleneck of the saint realm. Now, she is already a saint. In the future, our Yan family will be the #1 family in the capital." "What? Aunt, you finally succeeded." Hearing the news, Yan Zicheng jumped up in excitement. Then he shouted with a ferocious face, "Qin Haodong, just you wait. I'll kill you." As he spoke, he hurriedly ran into the manor. In the hall of the Yan family, Yan Feifei was sitting in the middle. At this point, the family master was not as noble as her. Yan Fengwu and the people of the Yan family surrounded Yan Feifei like stars surrounding the moon. "Feifei, congratulations on officially stepping into the ranks of saints. This is the fortune of our Yan family. I've long known that Feifei has been extraordinary since she was young. She will definitely achieve great things in the future. With Feifei supporting our Yan family, we will be the #1 family in the capital in the future." Yan Feifei's reaction was much calmer than the others. At this time, she did not have too many thoughts in her heart. Her dream had always been to break through to the saint level, but now that her dream had come true, she felt that she had lost her direction after the joy. She only had one thought now, and that was to find that good man as soon as possible. As a woman, she had to find her own love in life. At this moment, Yan Zicheng ran in hurriedly. Seeing his embarrassed look, Yan Fengwu frowned and asked, "Zicheng, what are you doing? How did you end up like this?" "Grandpa, auntie, you have to give me justice." Yan Zicheng was like a drama queen. He cried and told them how Qin Haodong had bullied him in the #5 mansion and how he had taken Zhao Qinggu away. Finally, he said, "Grandpa, this Qin guy is too arrogant. He doesn't take our Yan family seriously at all." After hearing this, Yan Fengwu's face changed greatly and he said angrily, "This Qin Haodong is really outrageous. Does he really think that no one in the capital can deal with him?" If it had been an hour ago, he would definitely have reprimanded Yan Zicheng severely. But now it was different. The Yan family had a big backer and they already had the unique master of the saint realm in the capital. In his opinion, the Yan family would be the supreme existence in the capital in the future, and the current Tang sect could be used as a sacrifice. Yan Feifei asked, "Who is this Qin Haodong?" Yan Zicheng quickly said, "Aunt, you still don't know. He is Qin Zongheng's son, but he is much more arrogant than Qin Zongheng." After returning to the capital, he relied on his cultivation of the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm to bully the big families and collect beautiful women. Now he has taken away Qi Wan from the Qi family and Wei Yanran from the Wei family. Today, he wanted to attack my fiancée, Xiao Qingguo. I went forward to stop him, but he beat me up like this. "Aunt, you have to help me no matter what." Yan Feifei frowned. Ever since she had her own man, she had completely let go of the grudge with Qin Zongheng. It did not matter whether he was Qin Zongheng's son or not. However, she still hated this kind of bullying behavior, especially when this person had bullied the Yan family. She asked, although the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm is powerful, each of the 7 great families has 2 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. How could they bully the big families like this? Yan Fengwu said, "Feifei, you don't know that a lot of things have happened in the capital while you were in seclusion. Qin Zongheng has not only reached the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm, but he also has 4 extremely powerful women with him. All of them are at the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. In the face of such strength, the big families naturally dare not say anything." Yan Zicheng also cried out pitifully, "Aunt, you know about my engagement with Qingguo. You also attended the engagement party at that time, but Qin Haodong, the villain, forcibly broke us up. You must avenge me." He was not worried about Zhao Qingwu's attitude at all. As long as he killed Qin Haodong, with the current power of the Yan family, he would not be worried that the Zhao family would not agree to this marriage. He was afraid that he could not wait to send Zhao Qingwu to his bed immediately. How could there be such a thing? Yan Feifei had never been a good-tempered person. She hated bullying people to the extreme, and she could not tolerate it when it came to the Yan family. She said with a murderous look, "Where is Qin Haodong? Take me there immediately. How dare he bully the people of our Yan family? I want to see how many heads he has." "That's great, Aunt. I'll take you there now." Yan Zicheng agreed and turned his head to lead the way. He rushed to the Tang sect with Yan Feifei excitedly. Yan Fengwu gathered all the people of the Yan family and followed closely behind. Destroying the Tang sect was a chance for the Yan family to prove themselves. After today's battle, the Yan family would be above the other 6 families. In order to make a bigger scene, Yan Fengwu did not use a car. Instead, he took everyone on foot and rushed to the Tang sect in a mighty manner. In the Chu family, Chu Shanhe sat in the seat of the family master with a gloomy face. His family had just eased the relationship with his grandson, but Yan Feifei had actually reached the saint realm. What should he do next? This was also a test for his family. He glanced at the crowd below the stage and said in a low voice, "Everyone, tell me, what should our Chu family do now that Yan Feifei has become a saint?" Chu Xianming shouted excitedly, "Master, there's no need to hesitate. Qin Haodong will definitely die now. What our Chu family needs to do is to cut off our relationship with them and not be implicated by the Yan family." He had been defeated by Qin Haodong many times. Now that he heard that the Tang sect was in trouble, he wanted to set off firecrackers to celebrate. He was very happy. Chu Shanhe frowned and said, "Isn't it a little too hasty for us to do this? No matter what, Qin Haodong has the blood of our Chu family." Chu Xianming cried, "Master, the Yan family now has a saint. Everyone knows how terrible the strength of a saint is. Yan Feifei has always hated the Qin family to the bone. Moreover, this time, Qin Haodong has taken Zhao Qingguo away in a domineering manner. The Yan family will definitely not let it go. Killing him will be a light punishment. I'm afraid that the Tang sect will be razed to ruins. In the face of this situation, our Chu family naturally has to protect ourselves and hide as far away as possible." Jin Xiuying had been sitting next to him. She did not know much about martial arts, but after listening to her youngest son's words, she understood the current situation of the Tang sect. She immediately shouted excitedly, "That's great. This arrogant little bastard also has such a day. I asked him to go back to the Chu family, but he refused. Now he deserves to be killed." Speaking up to here, she shouted to the new housekeeper, "Hurry up and inform the kitchen to make a few more good dishes. Our Chu family needs to have a good celebration. After killing this little bastard, I can live for a few more years." Chu Xuanli frowned and said, "Mom, how can you do this? After all, Xianyue is your daughter and Haodong is also your grandson." Jin Xiuying cried, "I only have grandchildren in my life. I don't have any grandchildren. As for that unfilial daughter, I don't want her." Chu Xuanli shook his head. He could do nothing about this stubborn mother. Jin Xiuying shouted again, "Don't worry about me. Call Mingli back. When you sent him to Qin Haodong's place, I didn't agree. Now he might lose his life with him. Call my grandson back quickly." Chu Xianming also said, "Yes, big brother, call the two children back. Otherwise, Yan Feifei may really kill them in a fit of anger." As he spoke, he secretly rejoiced in his heart. Fortunately, Qin Haodong had not agreed to accept his two children into the Tang sect. Otherwise, he might have lost his life at any time. "No." Chu Xuanli said, "Although we are reasonable and wise, Hui is a descendant of our Chu family, but they've already joined the Tang sect, so they should live and die with the Tang sect. There's no reason for them to run away." Jin Xiuying said angrily, "Boss, is your head rusty? Do you want our Chu family's descendants to die with that bastard surnamed Qin?" Chu Xuanli said stubbornly, "Life and death are up to fate. Whether it's a blessing or a curse, it's their own blessing. Anyway, we can't call them back." "You're crazy." Jin Xiuying turned to look at Chu Xianming and said, "Second brother, go to the Tang sect now. No matter what, you must bring Mingli back." Chu Xianming was very willing to go to the Tang sect to watch the fun and see how Qin Haodong would die in the hands of Yan Feifei. However, this kind of important matter had to be decided by the family master. He turned to look at Chu Shanhe, who was silent. Chu Shanhe sighed and said, "Go ahead." These two simple words made the final decision. The Chu family was going to break off their relationship with the Tang sect. Then he said, "Be smart when you go there. Don't intensify the conflict. Before Yan Feifei destroys the Tang sect, we can't afford to provoke Qin Haodong." "I know, family master." Chu Xianming turned around and walked out happily. Chu Xuanli did not stop him. He knew that even if the Chu family sent people there, Chu Mingli and Hui would not be able to return to the Chu family at this time. With Chu Mingli and Hui's personality, it was impossible for them to return to the Chu family at this time. In the Qin family, Qin Zhan Ao was sitting in the main seat. Qin Zhanlong, who was bald, was sitting next to him. There was also another level 9 Supreme Power Master, Qin Zhanfeng. Qin Zhan Ao said, "I just got the news that the Yan family has already taken action and is about to take action against them. What do you think?" Qin Feiyang cried, "Father, Haodong is Zongheng's son after all. Now that they are in trouble, we should go and help them." 10 chapters of Happy Birthday Update. Please come to Zongheng for monthly tickets. You can't receive black beer on other websites. Red packets are the most welcome. Thank you for your support. Chapter 706. Qin Feiyu sneered and said, "Qin Feiyang, do you know what you're talking about? Yan Feifei is now a master at the Saint Realm. Do you want our family to perish together with the Tang sect?" Qin Feiyang said anxiously, but Qin Zhanlong interrupted him and said, "No buts. Everything is for the sake of the family. Since Qin Haodong doesn't agree to join our Qin family, he has nothing to do with us. Now we must get rid of him, or we will be angry with the Yan family. At that time, we won't be able to bear the anger of a saint." Qin Feiyang still wanted to say something, but he was stopped by Qin Zhanlong. Fei Yang, I know how you feel, but our Qin family really can't help you in this matter. Even if we go, what can we do? Even if our whole Qin family fights, we can't withstand the anger of a saint. Moreover, because of Yan Feifei's escape from the marriage, she has always been dissatisfied with our family. It's good enough that she didn't come to make trouble for us at this time. If we are careless, our whole family will be destroyed. Well, although Qin Feiyang was anxious, he knew that Qin Zhanlong was telling the truth. He fell silent for a while. Strength determines everything. The Yan family has a Saint Realm Master, so they have great strength now. They can decide the fate of other families, and our Qin family can't sit still and wait for death. Qin Zhan Ao said as he took out a small jade bottle from his arms. This is the Saint Elixir I bought at the auction. According to the seller, this elixir can increase the possibility of a level 9 Supreme Power Master reaching the Saint Realm by 50%. The energy gathering elixir and spirit culturing elixir from the auction have all been taken by the martial artists of our family. The effect is very, very good. I don't know who made these elixirs, but they are comparable to immortal elixirs. He looked up at the two level 9 Supreme Power Masters, Qin Zhanlong and Qin Zhanfeng. It can be inferred that the effect of this Saint Elixir will not be bad. I wonder who has the courage to try it. After returning from the auction, he did not take out this Saint Elixir. At that time, there were only 2 level 9 Supreme Power Masters in each family. He did not want to take this risk. But now the situation had changed greatly. The Yan family, which had always been at odds with the Qin family, had a saint. If they did not find a way as soon as possible, the Qin family would be next after the destruction of the Tang sect. After he finished speaking, there was a moment of silence. Qin Zhanlong and Qin Zhanfen both stared at the saint pill in front of them. This kind of pill had never appeared before, and no one knew how effective it was. Eating it could allow one to become a saint, but it could also cause one to suffer from qi deviation and be consigned to eternal damnation. After a minute of silence, Qin Zhanlong gritted his teeth and said, "Master, I'm willing to give it a try." He was the great elder of the Qin clan and was also the oldest. If he could not break through to the saint level, even if the Yan clan did not come looking for trouble, he could only live for about 10 more years. When he thought of this, he decided to give it his all. Firstly, it was for the Qin clan. Secondly, it was worth it to sacrifice 10 years of his life. Once he broke through to the saint plane, he would have at least 50 years to live. That's good. From now on, the fate of our family is in your hands. Qin Zhan Ao handed the saint pill to Qin Zhanlong. At the same time, he sighed in his heart. If he hadn't forced Qin Zongheng to leave back then, the Qin family wouldn't have fallen into the current predicament. Qin Chong had been listening. At this moment, his heart was filled with hatred. He didn't care about the future of the Qin family. He only cared about whether the Tang sect would be destroyed by Yan Feifei. After the meeting of the Qin family, he immediately rushed out of the house. He wanted to see how Qin Haodong would be killed by Yan Feifei with his own eyes. After Qin Haodong parted ways with Zhao Qingwu and returned to the Tang sect, he saw Ma Wenjue waiting in front of his door with Kim Ji-hyun's help. Ma Wenjue's face was pale and he was in low spirits. On the contrary, Kim Ji-hyun, who had just been seriously injured, had a ruddy face. She was like a different person from when she had just been brought back. How much blood did this guy lose to her? He wouldn't drain himself dry, would he? It seemed that this guy was really desperate to save the damsel in distress. However, when the two of them stood together, they really looked like a good match. After seeing Qin Haodong, Kim Ji-hyun knelt on the ground and said, "Mr. Qin, I beg you to avenge me. As long as you can avenge our Kim family, I will do anything to repay your kindness." Qin Haodong glanced at her and said faintly, "The reason why I saved you this time is that we've known each other before. As for your family, I have nothing to do with you, and I have no reason to avenge you." Kim Ji-hyun said with tears in her eyes, "Mr. Qin, more than a dozen members of my family were killed. Please, only you can avenge me now, Ma Wenjue also said. That's right, Haodong. Look at how pitiful Ji Hyun is. Please help her. Qin Haodong's face was still calm, but he secretly shook his head in his heart. His best friend had fallen so quickly. He said, since Wenjue is speaking for you, then tell me what happened to your family. I'll see what happens. It's all because of that bastard Kim Tong-hai. Kim Ji-hyun gnashed her teeth and said, Kim Tong-hai was originally a distant branch of our Kim family, but he was smart and good at making others happy, so he won the trust of my grandfather and let him join the core of the Kim family. Once, my grandfather accidentally told me that he had a treasure map when he was drunk. He kept it in mind and secretly told this news to Cha Tae-hang, the boxing saint of South Korea. From Cha Tae-hang, he got a great deal of benefits. Cha Tae-hang coveted our family's treasure map, so he suddenly killed more than a dozen members of our Kim family. My grandfather and father risked their lives to protect me and escape. The black tortoise jade pendant you gave me blocked Kim Tong-hai's fatal blow, so I escaped to Wuxia. I know you are a master, and only you have the hope to avenge our Kim family, so I rushed to the capital to find you. I didn't expect that I would be intercepted by Kim Tong-hai and then saved by you. When Qin Haodong was in Shanghai, he knew that Kim Ji-hyun would have a bloody disaster, so he gave her the black tortoise jade pendant and finally saved her life. Who is Cha Tae-hang, the boxing saint? Cha Tae-hang is the only saint-level master in our country, and he is known as the boxing saint. A saint-level master? Qin Haodong frowned and asked, with Cha Tae-hang's cultivation, I'm afraid he won't covet your family's treasure map, right? It's said that our Kim family's treasure map is related to an ancient site. If we can find that treasure, we are likely to become a peerless master, so Cha Tae-hang is greedy. Qin Haodong's heart skipped a beat and he said, an ancient site? Then why doesn't your family look for the treasure? Kim Ji-hyun said, the treasure map is very strange and not particularly detailed. My grandfather did try several times, but unfortunately, he didn't find the location of the treasure. Qin Haodong said, this is an internal dispute of your country. As a Wuxia person, it's not convenient for me to get involved. As a friend, I can let you live here to avoid Cha Tae-hang's pursuit, but forget about revenge. Mr. Qin, you can't ignore it. You're my only hope for revenge. Qin Haodong said, but you also said that Cha Tae-hang is a saint-level master, and I'm just a 9th-level supreme power master. Even if I want to help you, I can't. Let's stop this matter. But you're already a 9th-level supreme power master at the age of 20. I believe that you will definitely become a saint in the future, and you will definitely have the strength to help our Kim family get revenge. Kim Ji-hyun's eyes flashed with hatred as she said, as long as you can help our Kim family get revenge, I'll be yours. You can do whatever you want, and I'll give you the treasure map. Seeing Ma Wenjue's murderous eyes, Qin Haodong quickly said, forget about me. Just give me the treasure map. He had used up all the upper-level spirit stones in the 12 zodiac, but his cultivation had just reached the early stage of the Yuaning realm. If he wanted to improve further, he would need more upper-level spirit stones. If this treasure map really showed an ancient site, it was very likely that he would find opportunities to improve his cultivation, and even more upper-level spirit stones. Kim Ji-hyun did not hesitate at all. If she could not get revenge, it would be useless to keep the treasure map. She took off the 2 10-centimeter high heels on her feet, then grabbed the heels and turned them hard. It turned out that the heels were alive. After opening them, there was a hollow hole inside. She took out a roll of yellow parchment from each heel, and put them together to form a map. Qin Haodong took the map and looked at it. It was exuding strong spiritual qi. It was indeed something left behind from ancient times. It could be seen that this map was not a fake forged by later generations. However, after looking at it for a long time, he still could not figure out what this place was. He rolled up the map and said, I want this map, and I can promise to help you get revenge, but you can't be in a hurry. I can only do it when the right time is right. Although it was not difficult for him to kill Cha Hengdahang with his current cultivation, he did not want to expose his cultivation now, so he could only wait. Okay, I can wait. Kim Ji-hyun was not completely blinded by hatred and nodded in agreement. At this moment, Qin Haodong and Ma Wenjue suddenly raised their heads and looked in the direction of the Yen family's manor. They felt the changes of heaven and earth brought about by Yen Feifei's breakthrough. Ma Wenjue was shocked. What's going on? Could it be that someone has transcended mortality and entered sainthood? Maybe. A faint smile appeared on the corner of Qin Haodong's mouth. It seemed that his elixir was effective. Yen Feifei had indeed made a breakthrough. Chu Mingli and Chu Ming didn't have much time. Hui hurriedly ran over. Chu Mingli said anxiously, Haodong, something bad has happened. Just now, my father said that Yen Feifei has reached the Saint Realm and is coming here with the Yen family. It seems that they are here to make trouble for you. Before Qin Haodong could speak, Qi Wan, Wei Yen Ran, Feng Wu and the others also rushed over. They had all heard the news that Yen Feifei had entered the Saint Realm through their own channels. Chu Xianyue was also a supreme power expert. When she heard the news, she immediately panicked. She took Qin Haodong's hand and said, Son, why don't you hide quickly? Yen Feifei originally hated us because of your father. Now that she has become a saint, she will definitely kill you when she comes. Why don't you go out and hide first? Let me deal with this. Qin Haodong frowned. He had just thought about helping Yen Feifei break through and did not think so much. Now it seemed that it was really a little troublesome. It was very easy to deal with Yen Feifei. The difficult part was how to make his mother accept this marriage. Feng Wu still did not know the news of his breakthrough. Seeing his serious expression, she thought that he was worried about how to deal with Yen Feifei. She stepped forward and said, Do you want me to invite Master? Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, No need. I can solve it myself. Chu Xianyue said anxiously, Son, what are you going to solve? Run quickly, or it will be too late later. Qin Haodong said, I can handle this matter, but Mom, you have to promise me one thing. Chu Xianyue said, What time is it? 1 or 2 conditions. As long as you are safe, I will promise you anything. Chapter 707. Qin Haodong smiled slyly. He took Chu Xuanyue's hand and said, Mom, this is what you said. You have to promise me whatever I say later. I agree. Agree. I'll agree to anything you say. Chu Xianyue said anxiously, Go quickly. Yen Feifei will be here soon. After Qin Zongheng ran away from the marriage, Yen Feifei kept shouting that she wanted revenge. Chu Xianyue naturally knew this very well. When did I say I was leaving? Qin Haodong smiled and said, Such a small thing can't scare your son away. The people of the Yen family surrounded Yen Feifei and rushed to the Tang sect. Yen Zicheng took the lead and acted as a guide. The Han family, Wei family, Zhao family, and Qi family were originally here to break off the engagement, but unfortunately, they were a step too late. They could only follow behind the Yen family and watch from afar, waiting to act according to the situation. As for Chu Xianming from the Chu family, he had come to watch the fun. As for Chu Mingli and Chu Minghe did not care about Huey's life or death at all. She was not his child anyway. Qin Chong was far behind the crowd. He didn't want to do anything here. He just wanted to see how Qin Haodong would be killed by Yen Feifei. A group of people arrived in front of the Tang gate. Yen Zicheng pointed at the magnificent gate and shouted, Aunt, this is Qin Haodong's lair. Yen Fengwu was full of vigor now that he had the support of a saint-level master. He waved his hand to his subordinates and said, Tear down this gate. The people of the Yen family agreed and were about to take action when Yen Feifei suddenly raised her hand and shouted, Wait a minute. She was now the supreme existence of the Yen family, and her words were even more effective than the patriarch's. After hearing her order, everyone immediately stopped. Yen Fengwu turned his head to look. He didn't know what his daughter wanted to do. Could it be that she still had to be polite in the Tang sect? At this time, Yen Feifei looked up at the plaque on the gate with an excited expression. The surrounding people were all puzzled. This sign was indeed very beautifully written. The two large words, Tang sect, were written in bold calligraphy. It was very imposing. But Yen Feifei was a saint-level master now. She wouldn't be scared by two words, would she? Of course, Yen Feifei was not frightened. When she saw the two words, she immediately had a very familiar feeling. The font was exactly the same as the one on her note. After a short period of absent-mindedness, she quickly took out the two notes that Qin Haodong had left for her from her pocket and carefully compared them with the two words on the plaque. It was him. It's really him. The words on the plaque were exactly the same as the words on the note. Yen Feifei was sure that the words, Tang sect, were written by her man. At this moment, the security guards of the Daddy Security Company in front of the door rushed out together. Although they were facing a strong enemy, these people were experienced soldiers who had faced countless life and death situations. Naturally, they would not retreat. Yen Feifei put away the note and moved slightly. In an instant, she appeared in front of a security guard. She grabbed his collar and asked eagerly, "Tell me, who wrote the words on this plaque?" This security guard was also an expert at the second level of the Supreme Power Realm, but he didn't even have the courage to resist Yen Feifei. Under the powerful momentum, the genuine qi in his body seemed to be suppressed and stopped running. After hearing Yen Feifei's question, he felt that it was not a secret and said, "This was written by our boss." "Who is your boss?" Yen Feifei became more and more excited and even her voice was trembling. Her man was finally going to appear. The security guard said, "Our boss is the owner of the Tang sect, Qin Haodong." Hearing this name, Yen Feifei suddenly felt as if she had been struck by lightning and she was stunned. She had never expected that the person she had been thinking about day and night would be Qin Zongheng's son. How could this be? Could it be that the heavens were playing a joke on him? The others around were all confused. They didn't know what Yen Feifei was doing. Weren't they here to seek revenge? Weren't they here to destroy the Tang sect? Why were they interested in the two words on the door? At this moment, Qin Haodong came out with the people of the Tang sect. Behind him were Nailan Wushuang, Hu Shaoxian and the other women, as well as nearly 100 members of the Tang sect. Although the enemy was in front of them, these people looked calm and did not panic at all as everyone had imagined. When he walked to the door, Qin Haodong glanced at the people gathered around. It seemed that all the 7 great families had participated in today's matter and each family had sent members. He naturally understood what these people meant. As the saying goes, when a wall is down, everyone will give it a push. Unfortunately, they would be disappointed this time. His wall had not collapsed and it would not collapse in the future. Seeing that Qi Weiner and Wei Yanran were also on the Tang sect side, Qi Guofan and Wei Junce winked at them, trying to tell them to leave them and come to their families. However, the two girls stood firmly behind Qin Haodong as if they did not see it. Qin Haodong naturally saw these people's little tricks, but he did not care. He took 2 steps forward and said to Yen Fengwu, who was the first to bear the brunt, "Master Yen, why did you bring so many people to the Tang sect?" Well, Yen Fengwu was also confused. He could not figure out what Yen Feifei was thinking, so he could not help turning his head to look aside. Yen Feifei pushed the security guard away. The moment she saw Qin Haodong, his handsome face combined with the vague face in her memory and became clearer and clearer. "That's him. He's my man." Yen Feifei's cheeks were flushed. Hong, looking excited, stepped toward Qin Haodong. Is Yen Feifei finally going to make a move? How many moves do you think Qin Haodong can take from her? How many moves can he take? I don't think he can take even one move. No matter how powerful Qin Haodong is, he is only a 9th-level supreme power master. Yan Feifei is a saint. It's over. The Tang sect is completely finished, some people who were standing far away whispered. As the distance between the two of them got closer and closer, many people's hearts were in their mouths. Chu Xianming, Qin Chong and the others clenched their fists excitedly and prayed in their hearts. Kill him. We must kill him. The masters of the other great families sighed. It seemed that no matter how strong Qin Haodong was, he was just a flash in the pan. From today on, he would have to put an end to it. Yan Feifei walked in front of Qin Haodong and stopped. Looking at her excited expression, Qin Haodong realized that this woman had finally recognized him. Sure enough, Yan Feifei asked excitedly, "Are you a good man?" As soon as this sentence came out, the glasses of the people around him shattered and fell to the ground. Everyone present was struck by lightning. Shouldn't the battle between two great masters be a thunderous blow? Shouldn't it be a storm? What the hell was a good man? What surprised them even more happened. Qin Haodong smiled and nodded. Then Yan Feifei threw herself into his arms like a swallow returning to its nest. The two of them hugged each other tightly. This time, everyone was dumbfounded. Their fragile hearts were trampled by the galloping grass mud horses. The masters of the 7 great families were dumbfounded. The people of the Yan family were dumbfounded. Chu Xianming and Qin Chong were also dumbfounded. The story did not develop according to their expectations at all. What was going on? Weren't they here to destroy the Tang sect this time? Weren't they here to take revenge on the Tang sect? Why did she throw herself into his arms when she came here? How could they fight this battle? Not only them, but everyone in the Tang sect was also dumbfounded, especially Chu Xianyue. Even if she dreamed every day, it was impossible for her to dream that Yan Feifei and her son were hugging each other. What were they doing? She raised her hand and pinched her cheek. There was a sharp pain and she was sure that everything in front of her was real. Yan Feifei and Qin Haodong were hugging each other. Everyone else seemed to be petrified and no one spoke. The air around them became extremely heavy and time seemed to have stopped. As the saying went, no one knew a daughter better than her father. Yan Fengwu knew his daughter very well. She had been arrogant since she was a child and she did not care about ordinary men at all. Now she threw herself into the arms of a man when they met, which could only mean one thing. Thinking of this, his heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Qin Haodong was the man Yan Feifei mentioned? As time went by, Yan Feifei slowly calmed down. She immediately understood why Qin Haodong only gave her pills but did not meet her. Their identities were indeed a little awkward. But at this moment, she could not care too much. Qin Zongheng had become a thing of the past. Moreover, the two of them only had a formal engagement and did not have any substantial contact. No matter what, she had to be with the man in front of her. She raised her head, looked at Qin Haodong and said, "Are you willing to have me?" Qin Haodong said, "Of course. You are my woman. You can't run away from me in this life." Yan Feifei said hesitantly, "Aren't you afraid that your mother will object?" "It doesn't matter. My mother has already promised me." Qin Haodong glanced in Chu Xuanyue's direction as he spoke. He also winked at his mother and made a face at her. Only then did Chu Xianyue realize that she had just fallen into her son's trap. But now that things had come to this point, she could not object. Finally, she changed her mind. If Yan Feifei and Qin Haodong were together, she would be twice as long as Yan Feifei. This result was not bad. Thinking of this, she was much happier. The two of them were known as the twin flowers of the capital. In the end, Yan Feifei became her daughter-in-law. No matter how she looked at it, she had taken advantage of it. Seeing that Chu Xianyue did not object, Yan Feifei took Qin Haodong's arm and turned to the Yan family and said, from today on, I'm Qin Haodong's woman, which means I'm a member of the Tang sect." With a bang, everyone present was in chaos. These people had just been petrified, but they were at a loss because of the news. Yan Fengwu's old face, which had been smiling like a flower, instantly turned cold. The Yan family had been looking forward to having a saint-level master, but in the blink of an eye, she had become someone else's woman. The gap was too big. Moreover, once Yan Feifei left the Yan family, there would only be a 9th-level Supreme Power Realm Master left. How could they survive in the capital in the future? The masters of the Han family, the Wei family, the Zhao family, and the Qi family were shocked at first, and then they breathed a sigh of relief. The current situation had been reversed in a way that no one could have imagined. Not only was the Tang sect not destroyed, but there was another saint-level master, which was even more powerful than before. Fortunately, the Yan family was ahead of them. If they had broken off the engagement first and completely offended the Tang sect, the consequences would have been unimaginable. When Chu Minglin and Qin Chong came to their senses, they could not help but gnash their teeth with hatred. They had originally wanted to see how Qin Haodong would die, but in the end, not only did he not die, but he also won the beauty and strengthened the Tang sect. This made them envious and jealous. Yan Zicheng was completely dumbfounded. Originally, he had brought his aunt to avenge him, but now his aunt had been killed. Until now, his heart had collapsed and he did not understand what had happened. At this moment, Yan Feifei waved to him and shouted, "Come here and call me uncle." Chapter 709. ****, there are no rules at all. As soon as he finished speaking, Jin Xiuying roared angrily, Yan Feifei was once engaged to Qin Zongheng. Now this bastard is with Yan Feifei. Where are the rules of the ancestors? Is Chu Xianyue crazy? How could she agree to such a thing? People like him who have no rules will never be allowed to enter our Chu family. Everyone in the Chu family looked at each other in silence. They really didn't know what this old lady was thinking. She made it seem as if the Tang sect wanted to curry favor with the Chu family. Now the Chu family couldn't invite them even if they wanted to. Chu Xuanli said, "Mother, you can't say that." Although Yan Feifei was engaged to Qin Zongheng did not agree and ran away on the day of the wedding. From this point of view, Yan Feifei has nothing to do with Qin Haodong. Why can't they fall in love freely? That won't do. Jin Xiuying was about to publicize her old rules when Chu Shanhe said with a sullen face, "Enough, don't mention this again. In the future, no one in the Chu family is allowed to provoke the Tang sect and no one is allowed to disrespect Qin Haodong. Otherwise, they will be punished according to the family rules." Jin Xiuying was extremely annoyed. She felt that Chu Shanhe's words were aimed at her. But before she could say anything, Chu Shanchuan said coldly, "Remember, from today on, if you are dissatisfied with Qin Haodong, you have to endure it. If you bring disaster to the Chu family, I will be the first to punish you." After returning to the Tang sect, Qin Haodong introduced Yan Feifei to everyone. All the women welcomed this new member. Only Chu Xianyue was not used to it at first, but as time went by, the two of them slowly eased up. Yan Feifei had successfully broken through the bottleneck of the Saint Realm, but the women of the Tang sect had not made any moves. Qin Haodong couldn't help but feel a little anxious. It seemed that compared with Yan Feifei, these people's foundation was still a little worse. In order to speed up everyone's cultivation, he took out a large number of medium-level spirit stones from the storage ring and set up a spirit-gathering formation in the entire Tang sect. After this arrangement, the spiritual qi of the Tang sect was even stronger than that of Shenbao Mountain. The cultivation speed of the entire Tang sect had been greatly improved. It was almost midnight when he finished all these things. Qin Haodong stepped into Qi Wan-er's room. Ever since he snatched this little girl back, the two of them hadn't had any intimate contact. Qi Wan-er was still the same as before. As soon as Qin Haodong entered the door, she threw him on the bed. Then the two of them fought fiercely. After a long time, both of them were greatly satisfied. Qin Haodong began to run his genuine qi to help her improve her cultivation through the double cultivation initiation. The next morning, Qi Wan's cultivation also reached the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Qin Haodong was not surprised at all. Although his current cultivation had entered the threshold of the Saint Realm, Qi Wan's state of mind was not enough. The double cultivation initiation technique could not help her become a saint. She could only rely on her own cultivation to improve her state of mind. Once his mental state was sufficient, he would naturally be able to break through the bottleneck of the Saint Realm. After breakfast, he went to the Zhao family again and stayed with Zhao Qinggu for half a day. They made an appointment that Zhao Qinggu would move into the Tang sect tonight. During this period, he also learned a lot about Han Jieyu. Zhao Qinggu, one of the three beauties in the capital, liked to dance, Wei Yanran liked to paint, and Han Jieyu regarded flowers as her life. In the suburbs of the imperial capital, Hua Jieyu ran her own floral ecological club. In the beginning, she only did it to satisfy her personal preferences. Who knew that more and more people would come to eat there, and it slowly became one of the high-end places in the imperial capital. In the food industry, its status was not inferior to that of the Taotai restaurant. Half an hour after leaving the Zhao family, Qin Haodong stood in front of the health club. It had to be said that the concept here was indeed very unique. The appearance of the entire ecological club was built like a blooming peony. It looked not only beautiful, but also extremely elegant and classy. At this time, it was close to noon, and there was an endless stream of guests coming to eat. The parking lot in front of the club was full of luxury cars. Those who could come here to eat were either elites in the industry, business celebrities, or people from the upper class. Qin Haodong stepped into the door of the club. After entering the door, he suddenly smelled a fragrance. In other restaurants, there was the fragrance of food, but here, there was the fragrance of flowers, which seemed to be free of the smell of smoke and fire. The entire hall of the ecological club was a sea of flowers. Precious flowers that were rarely seen outside could be seen everywhere here. Among the flowers, there were dining tables, and there was a pot of beautiful flowers on each table. It was a great enjoyment to eat in such a place, whether it was sensual or spiritual. No wonder the business here was so popular. While Qin Haodong was enjoying the scenery, a young girl suddenly came out and rushed to the door. He was slightly stunned and then shouted, "Sister, when did you come to the capital?" The girl was Wang Rubing, the secretary of the mayor of Jiangnan City. She was also surprised when she saw Qin Haodong, and then she shouted happily, "Haodong, why are you here?" Qin Haodong said, "I'm here to find someone." The establishment of the Tang sect in the capital was too complicated to explain in a short time, so Qin Haodong didn't say much. He asked again, "Sister, what are you doing here?" Wang Rubing sighed and said, "What else can I do? Treat people to dinner." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Isn't it good to have dinner? Why do you look unhappy?" "Happy? How can I be happy?" Wang Rubing said with annoyance, "The environment here is good, the food is good, and the food looks good, but you don't see the price. It's amazing. A dish can cost me a month's salary. Who would come here to eat if they had nothing to do?" Qin Haodong said, "It's nothing. You can order whatever you want here. I'll pay the bill for you later. You have a good time in the capital this time, and all the expenses are on me." Wang Rubing glared at him and said, "Are you rich?" Qin Haodong really wanted to say that he was rich now, but he didn't dare to say that in front of Wang Rubing. Otherwise, he would be questioned for 3 days and 3 nights. Wang Rubing said, "Actually, I'm not alone. Mayor Li is also here. We're here to invite a guest from the capital today." Wang Rubing briefly introduced the situation. It turned out that Wufeng County in Jiangnan City was one of the poorest counties in Huaxia. After Li Changji took office, he promoted the development of ecological agriculture in Wufen County. This plan was supported by the government and a large amount of industrial assistance money. This was originally a good thing, but the people of Wufen County failed to take the money away several times. They had been suppressed by a small section chief of the General Administration of Finance. Li Changji had no choice but to go in person and take Wang Rubing to the capital, hoping to bring the money back to Jiangnan province. Speaking of this, Wang Rubing said angrily, "That person is just a small section chief. His rank is not much higher than mine, but he is more arrogant than the mayor. It really pisses me off." Qin Haodong smiled. There was an old saying in Wuxia that it was easy to meet the king of hell, but it was difficult to resist the little devil. Some people at the grassroots were really difficult to deal with. He said, "Are you and Mayor Li going to invite that person to dinner today?" "Yes, we're inviting that person to dinner." Wang Rubing said discontentedly, "This is Mayor Li's treat out of his own pocket, but that person set the place here, saying that the environment is elegant. The environment is good, but the consumption has also increased. I just looked at an ordinary private room, and the minimum consumption is more than 30,000 yuan. Mayor Li is not very rich, so I booked a table in the hall." Qin Haodong said, "In fact, it's not necessary. I said that you can spend as much as you want here. I'll pay the bill later." Wang Rubing shook her head and said, "Forget it. With Mayor Li's temper, he won't agree when he comes." Qin Haodong smiled and did not force her. He said, "If you can't handle this matter, I can help." Wang Rubing was his sister, and Wufen County was his hometown. He was very willing to do something for his hometown. This is the capital. Do you think it's Jiangnan? Moreover, he is from the General Administration of Finance. Although he is not a high official, you can't help him. Wang Rubing did not know much about Qin Haodong's background. She thought that he was just looking for someone to do something in the capital. Naturally, she did not want to cause trouble for her brother. "Well, you can do it first. If you can't do it, I'll help." Wang Rubing did not take his word seriously and said, "Mayor Li and the senior section chief will be here soon. I'll go out to pick them up." After saying that, she hurriedly walked outside. After Wang Rubing left, Qin Haodong was about to find a waiter to ask where Han Jieyu was when a young man came in from outside. The man looked to be in his 30s. He wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses and looked gentle. His suit was well ironed, and his hair was neatly combed. He carried a toolbox in his hand. It seemed that he was not here to eat. As soon as he entered the door, the lobby manager of the club greeted him warmly, "Mr. Ma, you're here. Miss Han is waiting for you inside." The young man nodded and followed the manager inside. Qin Haodong heard that this man was going to see Han Jieyu, so he did not bother to ask and followed them inside. The staff in the hall thought that he was the young man's follower, so no one stopped him. The manager led the way in front of them through the hall of the club in front. After walking through a long corridor, they came to the flower shed behind the club. After entering, the warm air blew on their faces, and the temperature was much higher than in the hall of the club. Looking around, Qin Haodong was slightly surprised. This flower shed was so big that he could not see the end of it at a glance. It seemed to be dozens of acres wide. There were all kinds of flowers everywhere in the flower shed, including almost all the flowers that people could imagine. The fragrance of the flowers was so strong that it was suffocating. However, for some reason, the flowers here were all wilting. Many of them had entered a state of wilting, as if they had been in a drought for a long time. In this kind of artificial flower shed, there should not be such a thing as a drought. Inside the flower shed, many workers were constantly spraying water on the flowers, but the effect was not obvious. Many of the flowers' leaves seemed to have been roasted, and there was a withered yellow color in the withering. In front of the flower shed, a tall woman with a delicate face was looking at these flowers anxiously. From her eyes, it could be seen that she really felt heartache for these flowers. There were 7 or 8 florists standing next to her. These people looked at the withered flowers in front of them and kept shaking their heads and sighing. They were all well-known florists in the capital. Some of them had even worked with flowers for a lifetime, but they had never seen such a strange disease. Chapter 7:10. The manager stepped forward and said, Mr. Ma is here. The woman turned around. It was Han Jiayu, one of the 3 most beautiful women in the capital. Han Jiayu was wearing a white dress. She stood there like a blooming white lotus, holy and beautiful. At this time, she frowned slightly, as if there was an unsolvable sorrow, which made people feel pity for her. Qin Haodong sighed secretly. She was indeed like a beautiful flower. He had seen many beautiful women. Although Han Jiayu was beautiful, he only admired her. The young man named Mr. Ma in front of her was like a statue. He stood there and stared at Han Jiayu, as if he had lost his soul. Han Jiayu frowned. Obviously, she was extremely dissatisfied with this person's performance. She said coldly, Mr. Ma, please help me check what's wrong with the flowers in this flower shed. Why did they all wither overnight? Oh. The young man came to his senses and said confidently, Miss Han, don't worry. With me, Ma Yuanchao, I guarantee that there will be no problem with your flowers. Ma Yuanchao was indeed confident. His teacher was Zhang Tianda, the chief academician of the Academy of Agricultural Sciences. Although he was just 30 years old, he had already been appointed as an associate researcher of the Academy of Agricultural Sciences, which was equivalent to an associate professor. He was an elite among the younger generation of the Academy of Agricultural Sciences. Han Jiayu had originally invited Zhang Tianda this time, but it was a pity that Zhang Tianda was away, so he gave this task to his best student. In Ma Yuanchao's opinion, treating the sick flowers was a trifle for him. It was not worth mentioning at all. At first, he was a little unhappy, but when he saw Han Jiayu, he immediately became excited as if he had been injected with chicken blood. It could be seen that this woman liked these flowers very much. As long as he showed a little bit of his ability to cure these flowers, he would definitely win her heart. Maybe he could even win her heart. Hearing that Ma Yuanchao could cure the flowers in her flower shed, Han Jiayu's expression softened a little. She said to an old man in his 60s next to her, Mr. Zhang, can you tell us about our flower shed? The old man was about to step forward to speak, but Ma Yuanchao said first, there's no need to introduce it. In fact, it's very simple for flowers to get sick. It's nothing more than pests, soil, diseases, varieties and other problems. In front of the professionals of the Academy of Agricultural Sciences, these are all small problems that can be solved very quickly. The elderly man's expression changed. Although he was not highly educated and had never entered the Academy of Agricultural Sciences, he had accumulated a lifetime of experience in the field of flower cultivation. He was a famous florist in the imperial capital. If it was really as simple as Ma Yuanchao said, he would have solved these problems a long time ago. He was naturally dissatisfied with Ma Yuanchao's arrogance and said coldly, then ask the experts of the Academy of Agricultural Sciences to take a look and see what's wrong with these flowers. Ma Yuanchao naturally saw the old man's dissatisfaction, but he ignored it and said to Han Jiayu with a flattering face, Miss Han, don't worry. Give me 20 minutes and I will definitely find the root of the problem. After saying that, he opened the toolbox, put on a pair of gloves, took out a magnifying glass, and began to carefully examine the flower shed. Qin Haodong ignored these people, and no one noticed his existence. They wandered around in the flower shed. It might be difficult for him to detect the problem in other places, but there were flowers everywhere. As the emperor green wood, these plants were like his eyes, nose, and ears. Soon, he found the problem. After walking around, he returned to the crowd. At this time, Ma Yuanchao was holding a magnifying glass in his hand and observing a pot of golden-rimmed roses. This pot of roses used to be very lush, but now it had withered and the blooming flowers had shrunk. There was no breath of life at all. The temperature in the flower shed was very high. It seemed that Ma Yuanchao had not found the root of the problem. He looked anxious and the sweat on his forehead dripped into the flower pot. The old man surnamed Zhang looked at his watch and said coldly, "Expert from the Academy of Agricultural Sciences, it's been half an hour. Didn't you say that you could find the root of the problem in 20 minutes? Should there be a result now?" Ma Yuanchao's face was full of annoyance. At first, he was still full of confidence, but after seeing these flowers, it actually did not match up with the knowledge he had learned. He searched through all the memories in his mind, but he could not find the problem. He even had a video call with his teacher, Zhang Tianda, but Zhang Tianda could not determine the cause of the withered flowers. He put away the magnifying glass, raised his head and said awkwardly, "The problem here is too complicated. I have to take the soil samples and the sick flowers back for a detailed test. But Miss Han, don't worry. As long as you give me 3 days, I will definitely find the root of the disease." Han Jieyu originally had great hope for the expert invited by the Academy of Agricultural Sciences, but her face immediately darkened after hearing his words. It had only been more than 10 hours since they found the problem last night. Half of the flowers had withered and died. If they waited for another 3 days, even if they found the problem, there would be no more living flowers in the entire flower shed. The old man surnamed Zhang sneered and said, "You were so sure just now that you can find the root of the problem in 20 minutes. Now you need 3 days. Can you do it or not?" At this moment, a clear voice said, "He can't do it. Let me do it." Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a handsome young man standing there, looking at them with a smile. Hearing this person say that he could not do it, Ma Yuanchao said angrily, "Who are you?" Han Jieyu said in surprise, "Mr. Ma, isn't he the person you brought here?" Ma Yuanchao said, "I don't know him." Seeing that it was not Ma Yuanchao's attendant, Han Jieyu asked discontentedly, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Although the young man looked very handsome, she was now worried about the flowers in the flower shed and was in a bad mood. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Let me introduce myself. My name is Qin Haodong and I'm a doctor." Hearing that he was a doctor, Ma Yuanchao shouted angrily, "Doctor? You're just a doctor. What qualifications do you have to criticize me here? Could it be that you can cure these flowers?" The other flower experts also showed a look of disapproval. Only Han Jieyu's face turned pale when she heard Qin Haodong's name. Grandpa had just mentioned this person to her yesterday, but she did not expect that he would come to her today. In her impression, the young man in front of her was a 9th-level Supreme Power Master, who was definitely not someone to be trifled with. She was afraid that Qin Haodong would kill Ma Yuanchao if he was unhappy, so she hurriedly said, "Mr. Ma, please don't talk so much." But Ma Yuanchao was just an ordinary person. He did not know the battle between the big families, nor did he know how terrible a 9th-level Supreme Power Master was. In his eyes, Han Jieyu's words were completely disdainful of him. He immediately shouted, "Miss Han, please believe me. I can assure you that our Academy of Agricultural Sciences is absolutely the best expert in flowers. Even we can't find the problem, so he definitely can't do anything about it." Han Jieyu really did not want to talk nonsense with him. She turned to Qin Haodong and said, "What are you doing here?" It was the same question, but the meaning of it was completely different from before. Just now, she was just asking a stranger, but now she was facing a 9th-level Supreme Power Master, who dominated the capital. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Your grandfather even sent your dowry to our Tang sect. I have to come and see you." After he said that, Ma Yuanchao's expression suddenly changed. He did not expect that the goddess in his heart had already been engaged, and it seemed to be an arranged marriage. The two of them had not even seen each other, but their marriage had been arranged by their families. He shouted angrily, "Miss Han, what era is it now? How can there be an arranged marriage? Don't care so much about it. You should dare to stand up against the feudal evil. Ma Yuanchao spoke passionately and indignantly, but Han Jieyu did not even look at him. She continued to say to Qin Haodong, I can admit the engagement between us, but if you come here like this, even if you get my body, you can't get my heart. Miss Han, you can't give up like this. You have to dare to fight against an arranged marriage. Don't worry, I can help you, Ma Yuanchao shouted again, but Qin Haodong still ignored him. He smiled and said to Han Jieyu, Miss Han, how can I win your heart? Han Jieyu said, if you can cure all the flowers in my garden, my heart will be yours in the future. A charming smile appeared on Qin Haodong's handsome face. It's a deal. He was the Emperor Greenwood. It was as easy as eating and drinking for him to cure the diseases of flowers. If it were not for the special reason here, he would only need to flick his fingers to make these flowers come back to life. Although no one paid attention to him, Ma Yuanchao was unwilling to be left out. He shouted again, boy, don't force yourself. Even the experts of our Academy of Agricultural Sciences can't find the problem with these flowers. How can you cure them? Qin Haodong looked at him coldly. This fly was really annoying. The experts of the Academy of Agricultural Sciences are not immortals. Today, I'll open your eyes. There's always someone better than you. As he spoke, he reached out and picked a withered rose from the pot of gold-rimmed roses under his feet. It was a flower bud, which had been in bud before, but unfortunately, it suddenly withered and became a withered flower bud. Ma Yuanchao shouted, boy, what are you doing? Even if you can't cure them, don't destroy these flowers. Han Jieyu also frowned slightly. It was obvious that she was very dissatisfied with Qin Haodong's action. But at this moment, her big eyes suddenly lit up. Qin Haodong reached out and flicked the flower bud. The gold-rimmed rose, which had withered and died, not only immediately regained its vitality, but also bloomed in an instant. A beautiful gold-rimmed rose appeared in front of her. Miss Han, it's our first time meeting. Here's a small gift for you. Qin Haodong said as he handed the rose in his hand to Han Jieyu. Thank you. After recovering from the shock, Han Jieyu stretched out her slender hand and took the flower. She was obviously very satisfied with Qin Haodong. She took the gold-rimmed rose in front of her, closed her eyes gently and sniffed it with her nose. The fragrance of the flowers made her feel particularly intoxicated. Ma Yuanchao was also shocked, but then he shouted, boy, it's just a little magic trick. If you have the ability, you can save the flowers in the garden. He did think so too. How could someone make the withered rose bloom again? He was not an immortal. He must have used magic to replace the withered rose. After hearing what he said, the others also nodded and focused their eyes on Qin Haodong. Don't worry, I'll show you what I can do now. After Qin Haodong said that, he reached out and grabbed in the air. Chapter 7:11. The onlookers widened their eyes, but they did not see what Qin Haodong was holding. Ma Yuanchao shouted, what are you doing? Are you trying to deceive us? Qin Haodong said to Han Jieyu, do you feel any changes? Changes? Han Jieyu felt it carefully and suddenly shouted, why do I feel much cooler? After hearing her words, the others also reacted. In such a short time, the temperature in the flower shed seemed to have dropped a lot, and the heat that made people feel irritated disappeared. Ma Yuanchao said, everyone is waiting for you to treat the flowers. Why do you care whether it's cool or not? Does it have anything to do with you? Ignorant man, I'll show you what I can do now. After that, Qin Haodong stomped his feet and shouted, open. Following his shout, all the flowers and plants in the entire flower shed were like soldiers who had received orders. They bloomed with vitality, and beautiful flowers bloomed one by one. The decaying flower shed instantly turned into a sea of flowers. The fragrance filled the air and enveloped the whole place. The people in the flower shed were shocked by the scene around them. They could not believe it was true. Why is the longevity flower blooming? Its flowering period is from January to April. Why is it blooming now? Oh my God, look, these iron trees are also blooming. A middle-aged florist pointed to an iron tree next to him and shouted in surprise. As everyone knew, it was very difficult for iron trees to bloom. Even if there were one or two branches, it was very rare. But now there were many flowers blooming. Look, look, the epiphyllum is also blooming. The so-called short-lived epiphyllum was extremely rare. This kind of epiphyllum usually bloomed late at night and its flowering period was very short. They did not expect that it was blooming now. The people present were like Granny Lu entering the Grand View Garden. They looked around and kept exclaiming. It was no wonder that they were so shocked. Qin Haodong's shout just now even made the bristle grass next to them blossom into small flowers. Ma Yuanchao opened his mouth wide and stood there as if he had been frozen. He could not believe all this. It was completely unscientific. Could it be that the young man in front of him was an immortal? How was this possible? Han Jieyu held her hands in front of her chest and looked at the flower shed that had regained its vitality and the blooming flowers around her. She felt that her heart had lost the ability to beat. She had a special fondness for flowers since she was a child. She once secretly vowed that she would marry a man who loved flowers. She just wanted to make things difficult for Qin Haodong and vent her dissatisfaction with her grandpa's arranged marriage. But she didn't expect that this man would give her a miracle. With a raise of his hand, all the flowers in the garden bloomed. What a magical man! There was a faint smile on Qin Haodong's face. As Emperor Greenwood, controlling vegetation was a piece of cake for him, so he did not take it seriously. Miss Han, isn't it time for you to fulfill your promise? Han Jieyu glanced at him shyly, then turned to the people next to her and said, you can leave now. The staff of the flower shed knew that the miss had something to talk about, so they walked out one after another. Ma Yuanchao came to his senses and looked ashamed. He did not dare to look at Han Jieyu again. He carried his toolbox in one hand and ran out in a hurry. Soon, only Qin Haodong and Han Jieyu were left in the sea of flowers. Han Jieyu said, can you tell me how you did it? What's wrong with these flowers of mine? Qin Haodong said with a smirk, of course, but you have to kiss me first. Han Jieyu became more and more shy, we just met for the first time. How can you make such an unreasonable request? Qin Haodong suddenly reached out and held her in his arms. He stared into her eyes and said, it's nothing. We have an engagement. You are mine and no one can take you away from me. Besides, you just said that as long as I cure these flowers, you will be mine and your heart will be mine. Are you going to break your promise? I'm not breaking my promise. Just kiss me. What's the big deal? After Han Jieyu said that, she gave Qin Haodong her delicate red lips and they kissed each other tightly. Originally, she just wanted to kiss him gently, but after kissing him, she immediately seemed to be attracted to him. The two of them kissed like glue, as if they had forgotten the whole world. After a long time, Han Jieyu pushed Qin Haodong away and said while panting, you promised to kiss me. Qin Haodong said with a smile, it's also a kiss. We never separated. You rascal. Han Jieyu said, tell me, how did you do it? What's wrong with my flower shed? Qin Haodong stretched out his hand and a small red stone the size of a cobblestone appeared in his palm. It's the culprit behind the death of the flowers here. Han Jieyu looked at the small stone. It looked no different from an ordinary cobblestone, but its color was exceptionally red. There seemed to be a small flame jumping in the stone. What is this? She reached out to grab the small stone. Qin Haodong quickly stopped her and said, don't touch it. It's called a flaming crystal. It will burn you. How could it be? I can't feel its temperature at all. Although Han Jieyu said so, she still took her hand back. She had an inexplicable sense of trust in the man in front of her. Qin Haodong said, "Don't underestimate this little thing. You can't feel its temperature because I wrapped it with genuine qi. Once I release it, the whole flower shed will be burned to ashes." He was not exaggerating at all. If he had not reached the nascent soul stage, he would not have been able to control this flaming crystal with his genuine qi. He had seen the flaming crystal in the cultivation world. It was formed by the essence of fire. He did not expect to see it on earth. Han Jieyu said in confusion, "Do you mean that all the flowers in my garden began to wither because of it?" Qin Haodong nodded and said, "As soon as I came in, I felt that something was wrong. Not only was the temperature high, but the yang qi was also too strong. The reason why these flowers withered was that they could not stand the excessive yang qi. After some investigation, he found that the flaming crystal was buried under the flowers. Just now, he used the force of his stomp to shake the crystal out of the ground and then put it into the storage ring. But my flower shed has been built for a few years. Why did nothing happen before?" Qin Haodong said, "Did you choose to build the flower shed here because it was warmer here?" Han Jieyu nodded and said, "Yes, the climate here is warmer than other places. Even in winter and autumn, there are flowers blooming, so I built the flower shed here." Qin Haodong said, "That's right. The flaming crystal has a sleeping period, which is equivalent to hibernation of animals. It was always in a state of sleep before, so the temperature was not too high. It was just right for growing flowers. Now it shows signs of waking up, so the heat is getting stronger and stronger. Naturally, the flowers here can't stand it. Fortunately, it takes a long time to wake up. If it reaches its best state at once, there will definitely be a fire here and the club in front will be burned to ashes." After hearing what he said, Han Jieyu was shocked. Fortunately, Qin Haodong came today. Otherwise, all her efforts over the years would be in vain. "Well, I've solved all the problems. You can leave this place to others in the future. There won't be any problems." "Leave it to others? This is my flower shed. Why should I leave it to others?" Han Jieyu blinked her beautiful big eyes and asked in confusion. Qin Haodong held her in his arms again and kissed her hard. Then he said, "Do you know now? You will be mine from now on, so you will naturally go back to the Tang sect with me. But my place is also very spacious. You can grow any flowers you want." Han Jieyu gasped and said charmingly, "Who said I want to go with you?" Qin Haodong looked at her with a smirk. "What's wrong? Haven't you kissed me enough?" Han Jieyu hurriedly said, "I've kissed you enough. I'll go with you, okay?" After that, she glared at Qin Haodong charmingly and said, "You only know how to bully me. It's broad daylight. If others see us like this, I'll be embarrassed." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Who cares? We're legally married. Your grandfather has even sent me a dowry. What's there to be embarrassed about? From today on, I'm your man." "You're so annoying." Although Han Jieyu said so, she buried her head in Qin Haodong's arms. She enjoyed this man's domineering attitude very much. After a long time, Qin Haodong patted her on the back and said, "Well, my sister is eating in front. Let's go and have a look." After that, the two of them walked to the ecological club in front of them. Wang Rubing booked a seat and waited for the arrival of the guests at the door. As soon as she stood at the door, Li Changji arrived. The two of them waited together for a long time, and the big-bellied Chief Gao finally arrived. Section Chief Gao was called Gao Jiangong. He was a small section chief in the General Finance Department. Although his position was not high, he had great power. Many of the funds allocated by the higher-ups had to go through his hands. This made him the god of wealth in the eyes of all departments. The money from Wufeng County in Jiangnan City had been approved for a long time, but he still refused to let them go. The reason was very simple. Jiangnan City did not say anything at all. They did not even treat them to a meal. How could they let them take the money away so easily? After a period of time, Jiangnan City finally responded. Today, the mayor personally came to treat them, which made him quite satisfied. With real power in his hands, he did not make any big mistakes. He had almost eaten in all the restaurants in the capital, big and small, and he liked the Flower Square Health Club very much. He had come here several times with his superiors. He felt that the environment here was good and comfortable, and the food here tasted good. It was just a little expensive, but it had nothing to do with him. Anyway, he did not have to pay for it himself. After seeing Gao Jiangong, Li Changji and Wang Rubing immediately greeted him politely. "Chief Gao, hello. We have been waiting for a long time." Although in terms of rank, Li Changji was much higher than him, a county official was not as good as a local official. Li Changji had the financial power, so he had to bow his head. Gao Jiangong was used to meeting leaders from all over the country, big and small. He was not polite to Li Changji. He patted his big belly and said in an official tone, "You must be Mr. Li from Jiangnan City. I'm sorry, I'm a little late. You know the capital is very busy. Sorry to keep you waiting." "It doesn't matter. We just arrived." Li Changji and Wang Rubing were polite, and then they let Gao Jiangong into the club. Seeing Wang Rubing leading him to sit in front of a table, Gao Jiangong's face immediately darkened. "They don't even have a private room to treat us to a meal. What are these foreigners doing?" Seeing the guy's dissatisfaction, Wang Rubing forcibly suppressed the anger in her heart and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Chief Gao. I'm a little late. There are no more private rooms here. I can only ask you to sit here." Chapter 7:12. After hesitating for a moment, Gao Jiangong finally sat down. But he said unhappily, "I've eaten out so many times, but this is the first time I've sat at the table." Wang Rubing breathed a sigh of relief. Anyway, she had finally passed the test. She hurriedly told the waiter to serve the dishes. When she booked the table just now, she had already ordered the dishes. She didn't dare to let Gao Jiangong order the dishes himself. Otherwise, the dishes in this clubhouse were really expensive. If this guy ordered them, how could she clean up the mess? Li Changji was usually honest and self-disciplined. He never accepted gifts or money from others. This time, he paid for the meal out of his own pocket. He couldn't afford to spend too much money. Soon, the waiter served all the dishes. Gao Jiangong glanced at the dishes, and his eyes flashed with contempt. Li Changji reached out and grabbed a bottle of Maotai on the table. He opened the lid and poured a glass of wine for Gao Jiangong, and then poured a glass for himself and Wang Rubing. He raised his glass and said to Gao Jiangong, "Chief Gao, a glass of wine is not enough to show my respect. I'll drink to you first. Drink up." Generally, Li Changji wouldn't let a girl like Wang Rubing drink at the table. He said a few polite words and drank up the wine in the glass. Gao Jiangong didn't drink the wine in front of him. He didn't even pick up the glass. His face became more and more gloomy. As the person in charge of a department with real power, there were many people who invited him to dinner. But this time, it was a little shabby. Although he had been asked to go to the Flower Square Health Club, he was sitting in the hall like an ordinary person. He had tolerated it, but the dishes were so poor that none of the club's signature dishes were available. The most important thing was the wine. Who would drink Maotai or Wuliangye in the capital? Which one of them didn't drink red wine? Now a bottle of Maotai, which was not very old at all, was given to him. If this was seen by others, he would lose face. Sure enough, he came from a small place and didn't know the ways of the world at all. It seemed that he had to hold back the money and couldn't send it to Jiangnan City in a short time. Thinking of this, he picked up the glass and sniffed it gently. Then he put it back on the table and said with a frown, "I haven't been feeling well recently. Drinking this kind of Maotai-flavored liquor is too stimulating for my stomach. I'm sorry, I can't drink it. Li Changji and Wang Rubing looked at each other. They were not fools, so they naturally heard Gao Jiangong's dissatisfaction. However, this bottle of Maotai was ordered by them and they spent a total of 2,000 yuan. Wang Rubing's eyes widened. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. The money should have been allocated to Wufeng County. It had been stuck here for more than half a month, and now she hadn't seen a penny. Now, Mayor Li was treating them out of his own pocket, and the dishes and wine on the table had cost him half a year's salary. The standard was not bad, but this old thing actually thought that the Maotai wine was not good. Li Changji winked at her, indicating that she must suppress her anger. Then he said to Gao Jiangong, "Chief Gao, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that you were in poor health. Let's change a bottle of red wine right now. Which brand do you like?" Gao Jiangong's expression eased a lot. He said to the waiter next to him, "Give me a bottle of Bordeaux. This wine tastes good." "Okay, sir. Please wait a moment." The waiter turned back to the bar and soon came over with a bottle of red wine with foreign characters. "Excuse me, sir. Do you want to open it now?" Although he knew that the wine must be expensive, Li Changji gritted his teeth and said, "Yes, of course." The waiter pulled out the cork, poured a glass of wine for each of them, and turned to leave. Gao Jiangong picked up the glass and took a sip. Then he nodded with satisfaction. "This wine tastes good, and red wine is good. Red wine is good for health." After a while, Wang Rubing sneaked to the bar and took a look at the price of the wine. She suddenly stuck out her tongue in shock. It turned out to be 12,800 yuan per bottle. This bastard was really cruel. He actually ordered more than 10,000 yuan for a bottle of wine. But now that the wine had been drunk, she could only hope that the money was not spent in vain and that she could take it back. Gao Jiangong didn't hesitate to eat and drink at the table. Because they knew the price of the wine, Wang Rubing and Li Changji didn't drink much. The 750 milliliters bottle of red wine was almost in Gao Jiangong's stomach. Seeing that they were almost drunk, Li Changji said, "Chief Gao, we're from Jiangnan City. It's not easy to work at the grassroots level. Please help us. We really need the poverty alleviation fund from the state. Can you help us solve it as soon as possible?" Gao Jiangong drank up the last glass of wine, but he was getting angrier and angrier. He really didn't know what people from such a small place were thinking. They just drank a bottle of wine, but they didn't call it wine. He hadn't drunk enough yet. How could they talk about it? He said with a cold face, "Old Li, there are many grassroots departments in the country, and there are many poor counties. There are too many places that need money. You'd better wait for the money." Then he sneered in his heart. "Although your level is higher than mine, so what? This is the capital, under the feet of the emperor. You still have to listen to me." Seeing that the meal was going to be wasted, Li Changji quickly said, "Chief Gao, can you make an exception? This money is used to build an ecological agricultural industrial base. If the money is in place now, it can be used for the basic construction. If it's a little later, it will be too late. This delay will be a year. I can't make an exception." Gao Jiangong said with a sullen face, "It's your job to arrange the production. My job is to allocate the money reasonably. There are too many places that need money now. There are people who have to wait here for more than half a year. This kind of thing can't be rushed. After all, the state's funds are limited. You can continue to wait in line." As he spoke, he felt a burst of disdain in his heart. Sure enough, people from a small place. I can tolerate it when they sit at the table. I can also tolerate when they order some plain vegetables instead of the signature dishes. But they only drink one bottle of wine. How can they talk about it without drinking enough wine? It seems that this money can't be released in a short time. Li Changji was a little anxious and said, "Chief Gao, this money is specially approved by the state." Gao Jiangong sneered and said, "Which of my money isn't approved by the state? How can I release it without approval? Isn't that a mistake? I have something to do. I'll go first." After that, he stood up and walked out of the door. Seeing that the meal was in vain, Wang Rubing could no longer suppress the anger in her heart. She stepped forward and grabbed his arm. "You can't go." Gao Jiangong suddenly became angry. Sure enough, people from a small place have no manners at all. "What are you doing?" He turned around, shook off Wang Rubing's arm, and said angrily, "Do you people from a small place have any rules? I'm telling you, there's something wrong with this money. I'll go back and re-examine it. Whether to release it or not depends on the review." No matter what, he was a tall and strong man. Wang Rubing was thrown back 7 or 8 steps by him. In the end, she failed to stabilize her center of gravity and fell backward. She was so scared that her face turned pale. At this moment, a big hand firmly supported her back and helped her up. Qin Haodong helped Wang Rubing up, looked at Gao Jiangong in front of him and said coldly, "I'll give you one last chance. Go back and handle the Poverty Alleviation Fund in Wufeng County now. It must be distributed before 8:30 tomorrow morning. Otherwise, you can quit your job." "Boy, who are you? How dare you talk to me like this?" Gao Jiangong was furious. He really didn't know what was wrong with him today. But at this moment, he suddenly saw Han Jieyu standing next to Qin Haodong. "Miss Han, why are you here?" Although as an ordinary person, he did not know the existence of the 7 great families in the capital, he knew that Han Jieyu's identity was extremely special. Once, he came here for dinner with a deputy director who had real power in the bureau. The deputy director had to greet this woman respectfully when he saw her, and he was not even qualified to go up to her. Later, he asked about Han Jieyu's identity. The deputy director said that she was the boss of the health club and he could not afford to offend her. But if Han Jieyu was unhappy, she could make the deputy director lose his job. Even the deputy director could not afford to offend her, so he naturally remembered her. Every time he came here to eat, he would be very careful. Today, he saw her and hurried forward to greet her. Han Jieyu ignored his humility. She took a step forward and took Qin Haodong's arm. She said, "This is my man. Do as he says." Qin Haodong was slightly stunned when he heard Han Jieyu say that he was her man. It seemed that once a woman fell in love with someone, her role would change very quickly. In fact, even if he did not use the power of the Han family, he had 100 ways to make Chief Gao lose his job and even put him in prison. Hearing Han Jieyu's words, Gao Jiangong trembled with fear. He could take Qin Haodong's words as a joke, but this woman's words were not a joke. He quickly said, "Don't worry. I'll go back and work overtime now. The money will definitely be in place tomorrow morning." At the same time, he hated Li Changji and Wang Rubing in his heart. Why didn't they use their connections in the capital earlier? Not only did they make a fool of themselves here, but they might also offend a big shot. After that, he turned around and was about to leave. Qin Haodong shouted again, "Wait a minute, I haven't asked you to leave yet." Gao Jiangong hurriedly turned back and said respectfully, "Sir, if you have any other orders, please feel free to tell me." Qin Haodong said, "Go to the bar first and pay the bill before you leave." Pay the bill? Gao Jiangong could not help but grimace. Although he did not see the bill, he could guess that the meal would cost more than 20,000 yuan, which was almost half a year's salary. If he had to pay the bill, it would be really painful. Qin Haodong said, "What's wrong? Don't you want to pay?" "Yes. Yes." Gao Jiangong nodded repeatedly. In comparison, his hat was more important than the money for the meal. He obediently ran to the bar, paid all the money for today's meal, and then left the club in disgrace. Wang Rubing and Li Changji were stunned. They didn't expect that they didn't have to spend a penny on this meal and they could get it done. They did not expect that Qin Haodong would have such a great influence in the capital. Qin Haodong went over to greet Li Changji and then introduced Han Jieyu. Hearing that they were Qin Haodong's sister and fellow villager, Han Jieyu hurriedly opened her own private room and then ordered a new table of wine and dishes to entertain the two of them. Finding an opportunity, Wang Rubing pulled Qin Haodong and asked, "Tell me the truth. What's your relationship with her?" Qin Haodong did not hide it and said, "You heard it just now. Jieyu is my girlfriend." Chapter 713. Wang Rubing asked, "What about Lin Momo? Did you abandon her?" No, I'm not that kind of person." Qin Haodong did not want to talk too much about this issue. He asked about the physical condition of old Master Li and the others, and then took out a bank card from his pocket and handed it to Wang Rubing. "Sister, there's some money in this card. Take it back and buy a bigger house in Jiangnan. Take grandpa, grandma and aunt there, and buy a decent car so that they can live a good life. If grandpa still can't give up traditional Chinese medicine, buy him another shop and open a clinic." Wang Rubing picked up the bank card and said, "You're spending money again. Do you know how much it costs to do these things in Jiangnan?" "Of course I know. It's about 70 or 80 million yuan. There's 100 million yuan in this card, which should be enough for you. I'll transfer more money to it later." Hearing that there were 100 million yuan in the card, Wang Rubing was so scared that her wrist shook and the card fell to the ground. She quickly picked it up and said, "Where did you get so much money?" Li Changji, who had been silent, also changed his expression. 100 million yuan was definitely not a small amount. Some large-scale enterprises only had tens of millions of registered capital, but Qin Haodong took it out calmly, as if it were 1,000 yuan. Qin Haodong said, "Don't worry. I didn't steal or rob the money. It's legal and above board." Wang Rubing pushed the card back to him and said, "Even if you got the money legally, grandpa, grandma, dad and mom can't accept it. Mom is still using the money you left last time for you to get married." Qin Haodong grabbed the card and stuffed it into her hand. "Just take it. It's a good time to get married. Who would want to spend money?" Wang Rubing hesitated for a moment and finally put the card in her bag. Then she glanced at Han Jieyu, whose cheeks were red. She glared at him and said, "How can you say that in front of a girl? Will you die if you don't pretend?" "I'm not pretending. I'm telling the truth." Qin Haodong said, "Sister, Mayor Li, come to my house after dinner." Li Changji said, "Little Qin, forget it. We've wasted a lot of time in the capital this time. There are still many things to do at home." As the mayor of a city, he had a lot of things to do. Wang Rubing said with a sad face, "The train tickets and air tickets in the capital are too tight. Now I can't even book a ticket back to Jiangnan." In order to be in a hurry, and the imperial capital had a very strict limit on the number of cars from other places, they flew here instead of driving. Qin Haodong said, "It's okay. I'll help you with the plane. Just tell me when you want to go back." Li Changji said, "Of course, the sooner the better. Please wait a moment." Qin Haodong took out his cell phone and called Uncle Wang. Uncle Wang was in charge of receiving the Zhao family's private plane yesterday. Soon, he hung up the phone and said to Li Changji, "I've booked the plane. It will take off in 2 hours. Let's eat now and then I'll send you to the airport." Wang Rubing reached out and pinched his waist. "Why are you always joking? Mayor Li is talking business with you." Qin Haodong grimaced and said with a wronged face, "Sister, why did you pinch me? I'm talking about business too." Wang Rubing widened her eyes and said, "Nonsense. I've just checked. There is no flight to Jiangnan in 2 hours." Qin Haodong said, "This is not a flight. It's my private plane. I've already told the air traffic control department. It will take off in 2 hours. After he said this, Wang Rubing's eyes widened and her mouth opened so wide that an egg could be stuffed in. It took her a long time to come to her senses and said, "Haodong, are you kidding? Sister, Mayor Li is here. How can I make such a joke with you? But where did you get your private plane?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "I got it from my wife." "You're not serious." Seeing that Wang Rubing was about to lose her temper, Qin Haodong hurriedly said, "I'm serious. It's my girlfriend's dowry." Wang Rubing turned to look at Han Jieyu with a questioning look in her eyes. Qin Haodong said, "You don't have to look at Jieyu. This plane is not a gift from her family." Han Jieyu nodded and said shyly, "The plane is not my family's dowry. My family's dowry is a restaurant." Wang Rubing opened her mouth in shock again. She cursed in her heart. What the hell was going on? No wonder Qin Haodong just said that he could make money by getting a wife. It seemed that he was not joking. It seemed that it was really profitable. A restaurant and a private plane in the capital. How much would it cost? Qin Haodong's family sent him a plane and a hotel, and he had more than one girlfriend. Even though Li Changji rarely joked, he still couldn't help giving a thumbs up and saying, "Brother Qin, I admire you for being a man." At this time, Han Jieyu took out 2 golden cards from her bag and gave one to Li Changji and Wang Rubing. "Brother Li, Sister Wang, it's our first time meeting. I don't have anything to give you. This is the supreme card of our Greenhouse Ecological Club. With these 2 cards, you can come here for dinner when you arrive in the capital. The card has no limit. Please accept it." Wang Rubing quickly pushed the card back and said, "Sister Jieyu, I can't accept it. It's our first time meeting. This gift is too expensive." She had just experienced the high consumption here. Even the restaurants outside cost tens of thousands of yuan. The value of the supreme card with no limit was really immeasurable. Seeing that her gift was returned, Han Jieyu said anxiously, "Sister Wang, this card is really nothing. This club is my private property. In fact, it's also my dowry. If you feel embarrassed, you can take it as a gift from Haodong. It's just 2 food cards. Just take it." Qin Haodong then stuffed the 2 cards into Wang Rubing's hands. "Dowry again?" Wang Rubing's mouth was wide open. "By the way, I also have 2 cards here. Sister, take them. It's a red envelope for your wedding." Qin Haodong took out 2 black VIP cards from his pocket and gave them to Wang Rubing. "This is the supreme card of the Taotai restaurant. It has no limit. This is the supreme card of the Heaven-Earth Trading Building. It has no limit. You can buy anything you need when you get married in the future. It's all free." Although Wang Rubing had just arrived in the capital, she had heard of the reputation of the Taotai restaurant and the Heaven-Earth Trading Building. They were places for high-end people to spend money. She had never thought of spending money there. Now her brother had given her 2 unlimited supreme cards in the blink of an eye. How much were they worth? She asked hesitantly, "Brother, are the restaurants and the commercial buildings also your properties?" Qin Haodong nodded and said, "Of course. Don't worry about it." "Is this a dowry again?" "Of course it's a dowry. Otherwise, where can I get such a big business?" Qin Haodong said confidently. At this moment, Wang Rubing felt that her heart had completely collapsed. When did marrying a wife become such a profitable business? "Brother, you won't be a gigolo in the capital, will you?" Qin Haodong said, "Sister, what are you talking about? These are all sent by her maiden family. If you don't believe me, you can ask Jieyu." Han Jieyu nodded and said shyly, "Yes." Wang Rubing felt that she had nothing in common with her brother. After a simple bite, she rushed to the airport with Li Changji. Qin Haodong drove a commercial car of the club to the airport and sent them to his private plane. It was not until this moment that Wang Rubing completely believed that what Qin Haodong said was true. After sending them off, Qin Haodong looked at the time and said to Han Jieyu, "Let's not rush back. We have to pick someone up at the airport later." In the morning, he called Momo and said that the things in Shanghai had been completely dealt with. She and the little fellow would take an afternoon flight to the capital. This was the right time to pick them up. He took Han Jieyu to the exit of the airport hall. While waiting for them to arrive, he chatted with Han Jieyu and told her about his situation. While the two of them were talking, a boy about 7 or 8 years old suddenly rushed over on a scooter. Although the airport was crowded, the little boy didn't care at all. He just rode on his scooter and dashed around. Seeing that the little boy was about to hit Han Jieyu, Qin Haodong quickly reached out to hold her waist and moved her behind him. Only then did they manage to avoid the scooter that was rushing over quickly. They managed to avoid it, but a middle-aged man who was dragging a suitcase not far away was not so lucky. He was hit by the little boy's scooter. Whose child is this? Why is he riding a scooter at the airport? Where are the adults? Is there anyone who cares? The middle-aged man was hit for no reason and he roared angrily. What are you shouting for? You won't die from being hit by a child. It's not a big deal. At this time, a young man in his 30s walked over. He raised his chin and had an arrogant look on his face. He was wearing expensive branded clothes and a large gold watch on his wrist. Behind him were 4 tall and strong bodyguards. Seeing the young man's momentum, the middle-aged man knew that he could not afford to provoke him. He looked at him bitterly and then left with his suitcase. The young man looked proud. He turned to the little boy and said, "Son, continue to skate. Do whatever you want. Dad is here for everything." Han Jieyu was speechless and said to Qin Haodong with dissatisfaction, "Why is he like this? How can he teach his child like this?" Qin Haodong said, "Some people think they are the best in the world because they have a little money. They even forget their surnames. Forget it, let's ignore them." He was now waiting to meet the little fellow and did not want to pay attention to such a playboy. After a while, a plane slowly landed from the airport, and then a large number of people rushed out of the exit. Soon, Qin Haodong saw Lin Momo and the little fellow. Tang Tang was also constantly searching in the crowd and saw Qin Haodong at a glance. "Papa! Papa!" After seeing him, the little fellow immediately broke free from Lin Momo's arms and ran to him happily. After seeing the pink and tender little fellow, Han Jieyu exclaimed, "Haodong, is this your daughter? She is so beautiful, like a fairy in a fairy tale." While they were talking, the little boy on the scooter suddenly rushed over again. Because it was so sudden, the little fellow had no time to dodge and they collided with each other with a bang. Although Tang Tang was much younger than the little boy, she had the Suzaku sacred body and her body was much stronger than ordinary children. This time, she was fine, but the little boy flew out with the scooter. Chapter 7:14. After the little boy was knocked away, he fell off the scooter and fell heavily to the ground. When he saw that his knees were all scratched, he immediately burst into tears. After all, the little fellow was still a child. She was frightened by this sudden incident. She stood there at a loss and did not know what to do for a while. Seeing his son fall, the arrogant young man immediately rushed over. He first helped the little boy up. After checking his injury, he immediately became furious. "Damned girl, you actually dared to bump into my son." He turned around and reached out to grab Tang Tang, but he grabbed nothing. He looked up and saw that the little fellow was held in the arms of a young man. Tang Tang hugged Qin Haodong's neck and said nervously, "Papa, I didn't mean to hit him. It's not my fault." Qin Haodong patted the little fellow on the back and comforted her, "Papa, I didn't mean to hit him. It's not my fault." He was right. If the young man had not allowed his son to play with the scooter at the airport, there would not have been such an accident. His son was injured, and now Qin Haodong said that he had no manners. The young man suddenly became furious. He pointed at Qin Haodong and shouted, "Boy, who are you talking about?" Qin Haodong said coldly, "Of course I'm talking about you. If you hadn't allowed the child to play with the scooter at the airport, how could this have happened? Fortunately, your son did not hurt my daughter. Otherwise, you would not be able to bear the consequences." It was okay that the scooter did not hit Han Jieyu just now, but now it had hit his daughter. How could he still tolerate this young man's arrogance? Fortunately, the little fellow was not injured. Otherwise, this young man would have to bear his thunderous anger. "Boy, how dare you talk to me like this? Do you know who I am?" Qin Haodong was about to speak when Lin Momo rushed over. Seeing that Tang Tang was fine, she turned to the young man and said, "It's normal for children to have some accidents. Well, I'll pay for your son's medical expenses. How much do you want?" "Money?" The young man smiled coldly and shouted arrogantly, "Do you think I'm short of money?" Qin Haodong frowned when he saw that the man was so ungrateful. "What do you want?" The young man shouted, "I don't care who you are. Your daughter hit my son. Today, I must throw her down. At least, she must fall harder than my son. Otherwise, today's matter will not be over." Seeing that this guy had gone too far, Qin Haodong's face suddenly darkened. When he was about to lose his temper, a coquettishly dressed woman came over. When she saw the young man and the crying little boy, she cried, "Brother, what's going on? How did Xiaoyang get hurt?" The young man said, "It's all that blind little girl's fault. She just hurt Xiaoyang. Now I'm going to make her fall, at least harder than our Xiaoyang." After hearing what he said, the coquettish woman didn't mean to stop him. On the contrary, she thought it was reasonable. She looked up at Qin Haodong and shouted, "Did you hear that? Hurry up and do as my brother says." Seeing that the brother and sister were so rude and unreasonable, Qin Haodong's anger rose in his heart. He said coldly, "Get out of here before I can control my anger." "Hey, boy, you're so arrogant." The young man immediately shouted, "Do you know who I am? I'm Chu Mingsong of the Chu family, the third generation of the Chu family. Your daughter just hurt the heir of our family. It's already a light punishment for me to throw her down. Otherwise, I'll break all your legs." The Chu family. Hearing that these people were from the Chu family, Qin Haodong sneered. It seemed that there was something wrong with the Chu family's education. How could they educate their children like this? Seeing that Qin Haodong was silent, Chu Mingsong thought that he was afraid. A smug smile appeared on his face. Tomorrow was the 80th birthday of the old master, Chu Shanhe. He had brought people to pick up his sister, Chu Mingjiao. He shouted proudly, "Hurry up and do as I say. You can't afford to offend the Chu family." Qin Haodong glanced at him coldly and said, "For the sake of the Chu family, I'll give you a chance. Get out of here." Chu Mingsong was slightly stunned. He didn't expect that Qin Haodong wouldn't give him face even though he knew the Chu family. He immediately became angry and waved to the bodyguards behind him. "Beat him up. First, destroy the toy boy, and then deal with the little girl." After receiving their master's order, the 4 bodyguards answered and rushed to Qin Haodong, who was holding the little fellow, like wolves. But before they could touch the father and daughter, a sharp high-heeled shoe appeared in front of them, followed by a scream. It was Lin Momo. Just now, she wanted to compensate them with some money. Seeing that these people were unreasonable, she no longer showed mercy and destroyed the 4 bodyguards in the blink of an eye. Chu Mingsong was stunned. His bodyguards were all retired agents of the special department. In the past, as long as they attacked, they would succeed. He didn't expect that the beautiful woman's long legs could be so powerful. In the blink of an eye, his bodyguards were destroyed. While he was stunned, Qin Haodong came to him with the little fellow in his arms. Originally, he was also a martial artist, but under the great pressure of Qin Haodong, the genuine qi in his body stopped running. He had no ability to resist at all. Then, he was kicked in the lower abdomen and flew more than 10 meters away. He plunged into the trash can below. "Great, Papa is so great." The little fellow clapped her hands excitedly. Chu Yujiao stood next to him. Seeing her brother and the 4 bodyguards being beaten like dogs, she stepped forward and shouted, "Boy, how dare you touch the people of the Chu family? You're dead." Qin Haodong glanced at her coldly and said, "I won't hit a woman this time, but there won't be a next time." Chu Yujiao, who had always been arrogant, was so scared when she saw his cold eyes. She closed her mouth and did not say a word. Qin Haodong ignored these people and introduced Han Jieyu and Lin Momo. Then they got in the business car and rushed to the Tang sect. Qin Haodong drove, and the little fellow, Lin Momo and Han Jieyu sat in the back. "Auntie, you're so beautiful." After getting in the car, the little fellow immediately ran into Han Jieyu's arms. Han Jieyu was also very fond of this elf-like little fellow. She pinched her chubby little face and said, "Tang Tang is also beautiful. When you grow up, you will be more beautiful than me." The little fellow leaned against her ear and whispered, "Auntie, do you also like Papa?" Han Jieyu did not expect that the little elf would ask such a question. As a woman from a big family, although she did not care about this kind of thing, she had to consider Lin Momo's feelings. She could not help but blush and look to the side. When she saw that Lin Momo did not have any strange expression, she was relieved. "Auntie, it doesn't matter. I'm talking so softly that Mama can't hear me. You can tell me secretly." After the little fellow finished speaking, she looked at Han Jieyu with a pair of big watery eyes. She could not refuse this elf-like little fellow, so Han Jieyu could only nod slightly. "Great, great, Papa found me a beautiful mama again." The little fellow shouted happily and no longer wanted to keep it a secret. With the existence of Tang Tang, the atmosphere in the car became extremely cheerful and there was laughter from time to time. After Qin Haodong left, the bodyguards hurriedly got up and ran over to pull Han Mingsong out of the trash can. Han Mingsong threw away the banana peel on his head and scolded angrily, "Bastard, do you think you're great just because you're a martial artist? How dare you hurt our Chu family? Just wait and see, I won't forgive you." After that, he took out his mobile phone from his pocket and quickly dialed his father, Chu Xianming. Chu Xianming had been very unhappy in the Chu family these days. Since Chu Xuanli was promoted to the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm by Qin Haodong, his status in the Chu family had immediately risen. Whether it was the family master Chu Shanhe or the other 2 elders, they all looked up to the eldest son. It seemed that they had the intention to pass the position of the family master to Chu Xuanli. Although he also bought a spirit culturing pill at the last auction and managed to raise his cultivation to the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm, there was still a great gap between him and Chu Xuanli. Tomorrow was the 80th birthday of the old master Chu Shanhe. He wanted to take the opportunity to perform well and restore his image in the eyes of the family master. He had just called his daughter Chu Mingjiao back and asked his son to pick her up at the airport. He did not expect that he would be beaten up. After hearing the news, he suddenly became furious. It was okay that he was bullied by Qin Haodong, but someone dared to bully his son. How could he have any face in the Chu family in the future? Thinking of this, he immediately called over a few experts from the Chu clan and rushed toward the airport. He wanted to personally teach this ignorant brat a lesson and vent the frustration in his heart. Before they arrived at the airport, they saw a commercial car coming. The license plate was exactly the same as what Chu Mingsong had said. They immediately ordered their men to block the car in the middle of the road. Qin Haodong was driving when he suddenly saw several off-road vehicles blocking the road. He realized that they were looking for trouble. He stepped on the brakes and the commercial car stopped. At this time, he saw Chu Xianming jump out of an off-road vehicle with an angry face. He could not help but sneer. It seemed that the uneducated guy was his son. Like father, like son. Chu Xianming came to the front of the commercial car aggressively and shouted, "Boy inside, get out of the car. I must teach you a good lesson today." Halfway through his words, he suddenly stopped like a rooster whose neck had been grabbed. At this time, the window was rolled down and he saw the handsome smiling face inside. He did not even have the courage to say a word. He did not expect that the person his son had provoked was Qin Haodong. This little bastard, of all people, he provoked this devil. When he came to his senses, he cursed Chu Mingsong's ancestors in his heart. He completely forgot that Chu Mingsong was his own son. Qin Haodong looked at Chu Xianming, who was confused, and asked with a smile, "Mr. Chu, why did you stop my car?" Chu Xianming did not dare to say that he was looking for trouble. He quickly put on a bright smile and said, "Haodong, in fact, I'm here to invite you. Tomorrow is your grandfather's 80th birthday. Please come to the birthday party with Xianyue." "I see. If there's nothing else, please get out of the way." After saying that, Qin Haodong directly rolled up the window, not showing any mercy to the second young master of the Chu family. Chu Xianming gritted his teeth with hatred, but he did not dare to show any dissatisfaction. He waved to his men behind him and the off-road vehicles immediately moved aside and made way for him. Qin Haodong suddenly stepped on the accelerator. The commercial car roared and sped away, leaving a thick cloud of black smoke. Chapter 7:15. As the business car sped away, the smile on Chu Xuanming's face slowly disappeared and his eyes were full of resentment. At this moment, a few more cars came. After they stopped, Chu Mingsong jumped out of the car and ran to Chu Xuanming's side. He said, "Dad, where is that guy? Didn't you stop him?" Chu Xianming said with a gloomy expression, "Yes, but we can't afford to offend them." "Can't afford to offend them?" He asked doubtfully, "Other than the people from the 7 great families, is there anyone else in the capital that we can't afford to offend?" "He is Qin Haodong." "What? He is Qin Haodong?" Hearing that, Chu Mingsong was shocked at first, and then he said bitterly, "Dad, is our Chu family really afraid of such a guy? Let him step on our heads and do whatever he wants." Chu Xianming glanced around and saw that there was no one around. He said fiercely, "Of course not. This kid dares to look down on us. I must make him pay the price." Hearing that he could take revenge, Chu Mingsong said excitedly, "Dad, what do you want to do?" Chu Xianming said, "Although he is very strong, your father is not weak. He will definitely come to your grandfather's birthday party tomorrow. At that time, it will be a trap." After that, he asked the bodyguards around him to get in the car and return to the Chu family. Qin Haodong returned to the Tang sect with Lin Momo, the little fellow, and Han Jieyu. Chu Xianyue was sitting in the hall with a group of daughters-in-law and watching TV. Seeing that her son had brought back 3 beautiful women, she was overjoyed and welcomed them. It was the first time for Wei Yanran, Yan Feifei, and the others to see the little fellow. They immediately liked it. The little fellow was also very happy to see so many beautiful aunties. She shouted excitedly, "Second mom, third mom, Auntie Wan, and so many beautiful aunties, do you all like my papa? That's great." Qin Haodong quickly grabbed her, pointed to Chu Xianyue and said, "You can't call her auntie. She's your grandma." The little fellow said innocently, "Grandma? But shouldn't all grannies use crutches? This grandma is too young." Qin Haodong said, "You're talking about an old grandma. This is your real grandma. Hurry up and call her grandma." Although the little fellow was a little puzzled, she still called out obediently, "Hello, grandma." "All right. Good. Let grandma see my good granddaughter." Chu Xianyue liked Tang Tang very much. She held her in her arms and kissed her little face again and again. She had a son and now a granddaughter, which made her so happy that she could not close her mouth. Then Qin Haodong introduced Lin Momo and Han Jieyu to everyone present. After that, the little fellow became the core of the whole family. Everyone surrounded her and laughed. After a while, Zhang Tiniu ran in from outside and said to Qin Haodong, "Boss, Mr. Chu Xuanli is here." Hearing that it was his uncle, Chu Xianyue and Qin Haodong went out to welcome him and took him into another living room. After sitting down and chatting for a while, Chu Xuanli said, "Xianyue, Haodong, tomorrow is the old master's 80th birthday. I specially came to invite you." Thinking that Chu Shanhe was her father after all, Chu Xianyue sighed. She was about to agree, but Qin Haodong raised his hand to stop her. He said, "Uncle, it's the old master's birthday. Logically speaking, we should go back, but my mother was driven out by the Chu family. It's not appropriate for us to go back so casually, isn't it?" Chu Xuanli's heart skipped a beat. When he came here, Chu Shanhe had already expected this. He knew that Qin Haodong was not an easy person to invite. It seemed that it was true. He said, "Haodong, the old master also said that it was indeed the Chu family's fault. If you have any conditions, just put forward them and we will definitely agree to all of them." Qin Haodong said, "We should invite my mother back in the same way that she was driven out. For the sake of the old master's birthday, I won't ask him to come here in person. But we can't avoid the procedure. The Chu family must take my mother back in a grand manner and let everyone in the capital know that we were invited back by the Chu family. And when we return to the Chu family, the old master will welcome us at the door in person." "Well," Chu Xuanli said, "it's not a problem to take my little sister home. When the time comes, your second uncle and I will personally lead the team to visit her. We will definitely let her go back in a grand manner. But isn't it inappropriate for the old master to welcome us at the door?" Qin Haodong stopped Chu Xianyue, who wanted to speak, with his eyes and said lightly, "You can pass on my conditions. If the Chu family agrees, we will go back. If they don't, then forget it." He naturally had his own purpose for doing this. With the intrigue of the big families, his mother must have a lot of sarcastic remarks when she returned. If Chu Shanhe could go to the gate to welcome him personally, others would have to weigh their own weight before they had any bad ideas. "All right then, I'll call the old man now and ask." Chu Xuanli did not dare to make a decision on his own. He dialed Chu Shanhe's number. After hearing Qin Haodong's request, Chu Shanhe was silent for a while and then said, "Promise him that as long as Xianyue and Haodong are willing to come back, it's not a big deal for me to welcome them at the door in person." Although he was very unwilling, the Tang sect's position as the overlord of the imperial capital had already been established. The 7 great families were all fighting to curry favor with them, so he had no right to refuse. After hanging up the phone, Chu Xuanli came back and said, "The old master has agreed. We'll do as you say." Qin Haodong nodded and said, "Well, that's a deal. I'll go back with my mother to celebrate her birthday tomorrow." Chu Xuanli turned around and was about to leave when Qin Haodong stopped him. "Uncle, come with me." After that, he greeted Chu Xianyue and took Chu Xuanli to the quiet room next door. At the same time, he asked someone to bring Chu Mingli and Hui also called him over. Chu Xuanli was slightly stunned when he saw his son and daughter. It had only been a few days, but he felt that the 2 children had changed dramatically. Even their spirit and temperament seemed to be different. "Your cultivation has increased." Chu Mingli nodded. "Cousin Tang Wulin helped us increase our cultivation ranks as soon as we arrived at the Tang sect, and he's completely stabilized over the past few days." Chu Minghui happily held her father's arm and said, "My brother and I have both improved by 3 levels. Cousin Haodong is really amazing." Chu Xuanli was shocked at first, but then he secretly rejoiced. It seemed that he had made the right decision to leave the 2 children in the Tang sect. If he had asked them to go back that day, they would probably have no future in the future. He said to Qin Haodong gratefully, "Thank you, Haodong. Uncle, don't be so polite to me. It's my duty to help my cousins. Chu Minghui said with a smile, Cousin Haodong, why did you call us here? Do you want to help us improve our cultivation ranks? Chu Xuanli glared at her and scolded, You're talking nonsense again. Do you think improving your cultivation ranks is a game? It's easy to improve. Qin Haodong smiled and said, Uncle, my cousin is right. Now I want to help you improve your cultivation ranks. He used to be a level 9 Supreme Power Master, so it was already the limit for Chu Xuanli to reach the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm. But now he was a warrior at the early stage of the Yuaning realm, so it was not difficult for him to help the father and daughter go further. Chu Xuanli said doubtfully, Haodong, can this work? Recently, our cultivation ranks have improved too fast and our state of mind can't keep up. Will it cause our foundation to be unstable and we will be possessed by the devil? Qin Haodong said confidently, Don't worry, uncle. I'm sure that as long as I'm here, you won't be possessed by the devil. Chu Minghui also said, Yes, Dad, you must believe in Cousin Haodong. He's very capable. The little girl now had a blind admiration for Qin Haodong. She felt that there was nothing her cousin couldn't do. Of course I believe in your cousin. I'm just asking casually. After saying that, Chu Xuanli sat down cross-legged on the ground. Chu Mingli and Chu Ming also sat next to him. Qin Haodong took out 3 spirit culturing pills for the 3 of them to take and then began to help them improve their cultivation ranks. With his help, the genuine qi of the 3 of them quickly improved again. Chu Xuanli entered the threshold of the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm, while Chu Minghui and Chu Mingli also advanced to the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm. However, after crossing the bottleneck, the expressions of the 3 of them immediately changed. It was as if they had seen something special. Sometimes they were scared, sometimes they giggled, and sometimes they cried. Qin Haodong knew that this was the manifestation of the breeding of inner demons. Just as Chu Xuanli had said, their cultivation ranks had improved too fast recently and their state of mind was unstable. It was easy for inner demons to breed and make them fall into an illusion. If they did not get rid of this situation as soon as possible, they would really be possessed by the devil. But this was naturally not a problem for Qin Haodong. He had already prepared for this. He stretched out his right hand and the devil-vanquishing wand appeared in his palm. After the devil-vanquishing wand appeared, it immediately sensed the inner demons of the 3 of them. The 12 strings of coins on the wand kept jingling and making all kinds of sounds. Soon, the inner demons of the 3 of them were suppressed. Qin Haodong nodded. This magic wand was indeed a treasure. With it by their side, it was impossible for them to be possessed by the devil. With the removal of the inner demons, the cultivation of the 3 gradually stabilized. About 10 minutes later, the 3 of them slowly opened their eyes. Feeling the power in his body, Chu Xuanli was so excited that he shed 2 lines of tears. For many years, he had been stuck at the bottleneck of the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm. He thought that he would never be able to reach the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. He did not expect that after meeting his nephew, he would rise 4 levels in a row in just a week, realizing the dream that many martial artists could not achieve in their lifetime. Haodong, uncle and his family thank you very much. After Chu Xuanli finished speaking, he brought Chu Mingli and Chu Ming along. Hui bowed deeply to Qin Haodong. Uncle, what are you doing? Qin Haodong reached out and helped all 3 of them up. He had always been grateful. Since Chu Xuanli was good to his mother, he should be good to his family. Since tomorrow was Chu Shanha's birthday, he did not ask Chu Xuanli to stay and asked Chu Mingli and Chu Minghui also followed them back to the Chu family. After the father and son left, Qin Haodong returned to Chu Xuanyue's room. Seeing her son coming, Chu Xianyue said, Haodong, no matter what happens to the Chu family, he is my father and your grandfather after all. We can't be too shabby when we go back tomorrow. We have to prepare some gifts. She was in a very complicated mood now. She hated the Chu family, but she was also happy to go home. After thinking for a long time, she decided that Chu Shanhe was her father after all. She had to prepare some gifts on his birthday. Qin Haodong said, "Mom, you don't have to worry about this. I'll take care of the gifts." "Well, I won't worry about it." Chu Xianyue used to be a strong woman. She had done everything by herself over the years, but now that she had such an excellent son, she left everything to Qin Haodong. Soon it was dinner time. The family had a lively meal. After the meal, Qin Haodong took the little fellow away from the girls and brought her into the cultivation room. The little fellow blinked her big eyes, looked at Qin Haodong and asked, "Papa, what are you going to play here?" Chapter 7:16. Dad has a good thing for you. Qin Haodong turned his wrist and a flaming crystal appeared in his palm. Out of the innate instinct of the Suzaku's sacred body, the little fellow immediately showed great interest in this small stone and reached out to grab it in her palm. If ordinary people held this kind of stone in their hands, they would immediately be burned into charcoal. Even Qin Haodong had to wrap it tightly with genuine qi. But when Tang Tang held it in her hand, not only was there no problem, but she also felt extremely comfortable. "Papa, this little stone is so cute. Give it to me." The little fellow held the flaming crystal and couldn't bear to put it down. Qin Haodong said, "Tang Tang, this is not how to use it. That's not how you use this stone. It can help your flames level up." "Really? Papa, teach me how to use it." The little fellow didn't know much about upgrading, but she knew that the way her father gave her must be the best way. Qin Haodong asked the little fellow to sit cross-legged. He held the flaming crystal in his left palm and began to run the mental cultivation method of the Eyes of Phoenix. The Eyes of Phoenix was a unique skill of the Yuan sect, which belonged to the magical cultivation method. This cultivation method could be used in both directions. When it was run forward, it could spit out fire, and when it was run backward, it could absorb all the fire energy. Situ Zhaixing first passed this cultivation method to Qin Haodong, who passed it on to the little fellow on behalf of his master, so he was extremely proficient in the attributes of this cultivation method. Under his guidance, the little guy began to hold his breath and absorb the scarlet flame crystal. Qin Haodong stood quietly beside her, guarding his daughter. As time went by, the flaming crystal in the little fellow's palm became smaller and smaller, and finally turned into a mass of powder with a snap. The hot energy inside had all been absorbed by Tang Tang. The little fellow slowly opened her eyes and said to Qin Haodong excitedly, "Papa, I feel as if there are a lot more things in my body. It's warm and comfortable." "That's because your flame has improved again." Qin Haodong set a defensive restriction on the wall of the practice room and then said to the little fellow, "Tang Tang, try it and see if the power of the flame has increased." "Okay, Papa." The little fellow was still a child and was already eager to try. When Qin Haodong finished, she immediately opened her little mouth and spat out a phoenix-like flame. Previously, her flame had already been upgraded from an ordinary flame to an innate flame. The color of the flame had also changed from red to the innate flame's yellow color. This time, after absorbing the scarlet flame crystal, the level of his flame had greatly increased. Although it had yet to reach the blue level of the three true flame, the yellow flame was already faintly emitting a blue halo. It seemed that it was not far from the three true flame. The most important thing was that the increase in power was too great. After the flames were sprayed on the wall, they immediately heard a bang, and the restriction that Qin Haodong had set up was burned into nothingness. Fortunately, he was already prepared. He hurriedly made a hand seal and laid down 3 restrictions in a row. Otherwise, this house would really be burnt down. "Okay, Tang," the little fellow said. Qin Haodong hurriedly stopped the little fellow. Now he had experienced the power of this kind of flame. If it was a frontal attack, even his cultivation at the early stage of Yuanying realm might not be able to hold on for long. It seemed that the upgrade was very successful, which made Qin Haodong very happy. Because the little fellow was too young and immature, he had not been in a hurry to improve her cultivation. However, the upgrade of the flame was an opportunity that could only be encountered by chance. He had to seize it, otherwise it would be difficult to encounter it again in the future. Even so, the little fellow's strength was still terrifying. With the current eyes of Phoenix, if she attacked with all her strength, no one below the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm could resist her. After praising the little fellow, Qin Haodong told her not to use fire on others casually and then took her out of the practice room. The next morning, after breakfast, the whole Tang sect was busy. Today was Chu Shanhe's 80th birthday. At the request of Chu Xianyue, Qin Haodong decided to take all the women to the birthday party, including the little fellow. Knowing that they were going to attend the party, the girls all dressed up. Firstly, women loved beauty. Secondly, although they all accepted each other's existence, they all had a faint sense of competition in their hearts. They were afraid that they would be outdone by others, so they dressed up very carefully. When these women appeared in front of Qin Haodong, he felt dizzy. At the same time, he felt very proud. Even the international model team was not as eye-catching as his women. They were both beautiful and had good figures. After 8:00, a long motorcade drove into the Tang sect. The leader was Chu Xuanli, followed by Chu Xianming. The two of them were here to welcome Chu Xianyue back on behalf of the Chu family. The people of the Tang sect got into the cars. According to Qin Haodong's request, the motorcade did not drive directly back to the Chu family, but around the capital. There were as many as 100 cars in the motorcade prepared by Chu Xuanli, and each of them was a luxury car worth more than 5 million yuan. Wherever they passed, it immediately caused a sensation. People who did not understand asked about what had happened. Soon, the news that Chu Xianyue had been grandly taken back to the Chu family spread throughout the upper class of the capital. Many busybodies followed behind to watch the fun. It was not until 9:00 in the morning that the motorcade slowly drove to the Chu family's manor. At the gate of the manor, Chu Shanhe, who was dressed in a red Tang suit, was waiting there. Beside him stood Chu Shanchuan and Chu Shanhai. Behind them were hundreds of disciples of the Chu family, including Chu Mingtsong and Chu Mingjiao. After standing for a few minutes, Chu Mingtsong said discontentedly, "He really thinks he's a big shot. He made so many of us wait for him here. I don't know what Grandpa was thinking. He actually agreed to such an unreasonable request." Chu Mingjiao also said sarcastically, "That's right. This kind of person is arrogant and has no respect for his elders. He doesn't know the rules at all. Our Chu family should not let him in." Although they did not mention Qin Haodong, the people around knew that she was talking about him. Chu Mingli and Chu Ming were standing next to her. After a few days of contact, they respected Qin Haodong more and more in their hearts. Chu Mingli said, "Cousin, you're wrong. Aunt was originally a member of our Chu family. Back then, we let her down and drove her out of the family. Now it's only right for us to take her back." Although Chu Mingtsong was Chu Xuanming's son, he was the eldest grandson of the Chu family because Chu Xianming had given birth very early. In addition, he was good at flattering others, so he was deeply loved by the old lady, Jin Xiuying. He had developed a spoiled personality since he was a child. Now seeing that Chu Mingli dared to contradict him in public, he immediately shouted with a sullen face, "You've been in the Tang sect for a few days and your temper has grown. You haven't learned anything else but that guy's arrogance. I'm your brother. How can you talk to me like that?" Chu Ming, who was outspoken, shouted, "I think you're the arrogant one. Cousin Haodong is a really capable person. He established the Tang sect with his own strength at a young age. Look at you. Apart from relying on your family to eat, drink, and gamble, what else can you do?" Seeing that her brother was being criticized, Chu Mingjiao also stood up and shouted rudely, "You little girl, what do you know? You've only been there for a few days, but you're already speaking up for that guy. Do you like that gigolo boy? Are you shameless? Chu Minghui was a straightforward and hot-tempered person, but she was not as generous as Chu Mingli. She immediately retorted, Chu Mingjiao, I think you're the shameless one. Do you think everyone else is as dirty as you? You've had more than a dozen abortions in your 20s. Are you shameless? Although Chu Mingjiao was not married yet, her behavior was a mess. She was indeed like Chu Ming. Just like what we had said, she had had more than a dozen abortions in her 20s. However, this kind of thing was usually talked about in private. Now that it was pointed out in public, she could not bear it. Little b******. How dare you say that to me? Seeing the ridiculing eyes around her, Chu Mingjiao could no longer control herself and jumped at Chu Ming Hui. But now Chu Minghui was already at the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm, so she did not take her seriously at all. She just raised her hand and slapped her away. This time, her high-heeled shoes were also broken. Her hair was disheveled and her face was covered with dirt. She looked like a ghost. Chu Shanhe stood in front and was thinking about how to make Qin Haodong satisfied when he came. He did not expect that his backyard would be on fire before Qin Haodong arrived. Seeing that his sister was being beaten, Chu Mingsong was about to rush up to Chu Ming Hui was about to make a move when she heard Chu Shanhe shout angrily, Everyone, stop. Seeing that their grandfather was really angry, the younger generation of the Chu family all trembled and stood there, not daring to speak. Chu Shanhe looked at Chu Ming Hui, and then at Chu Mingjiao. Hui then looked at Chu Mingjiao. Tell me, what's going on? Chu Minghui said first, Grandpa, the two of them were insulting cousin Haodong here. We argued with him, but they beat me. Chu Shanhe glanced at Chu Mingsong and Chu Mingjiao coldly. Is that so? Chu Mingjiao felt that she had been wronged. At home, she was usually very arrogant and spoiled by Chu Shanhe. She got up from the ground and shouted, Grandpa, why did that little bastard come back to our Chu family? I just said a few words. What's wrong with that? Why did she hit me? As soon as she said this, there was a bang and Chu Mingjiao's body flew out again. This time, she flew farther and fell harder than last time. But this time, it was not Chu Ming. It was Chu Shanhe himself. Chu Mingsong originally wanted to say a few words, but when he saw that his grandfather was really angry, he immediately shut his mouth and did not dare to say a word. Chu Shanhe had spent a lot of effort to invite Qin Haodong back to the Chu family. How could he allow these ignorant juniors to destroy his plan? He said sternly, I tell you, Qin Haodong is the grandson of our Chu family. No one is allowed to question him. If anyone dares to provoke him again, he will be expelled from the Chu family. After this small disturbance, everyone could see Chu Shanhe's attitude, so no one dared to show disrespect to Qin Haodong anymore. However, this was only on the surface. Most of the Chu family were still extremely opposed to the return of Chu Xianyue and her son, especially those who were ambitious for the position of the family master. They always felt that Qin Haodong was their biggest threat. Not long after, the motorcade that welcomed Qin Haodong came back. Under everyone's gaze, Chu Shanhe opened the door and took Chu Xianyue out. Xianyue, welcome back to the Chu family. Although she knew that the father in front of her was pretending for his son, Chu Xianyue was still moved when she saw the place where she had lived since she was a child. Her eyes became wet. Chu Xuanli said, Well, this is not the place to talk. Let's go in quickly. During the grand welcome ceremony, Qin Haodong followed Chu Xianyue and they walked to the Chu family's manor together. Chapter 7:17. In the spacious hall of the Chu family, Jin Xiuying sat there with a gloomy face. She did not look happy at all. Chu Xianyue walked into the hall and her expression changed several times when she saw Jin Xiuying. Although this person was her biological mother, she had brought her far more pain than happiness over the years. After hesitating for a while, she finally walked over and said, "Mom, I'm back." Different from the ordinary mother-daughter relationship, the old lady did not show any joy after seeing her daughter who she had not seen for more than 20 years. On the contrary, a strong look of disgust flashed across her face. In the face of Chu Xuanyue's greeting, she just snorted, then turned her head and kept fiddling with the prayer beads in her hand. Qin Haodong had heard his mother mention all kinds of ruthlessness many times before. Today, he finally saw it with his own eyes. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Chu Xianyue originally wanted Qin Haodong to greet the old lady with his daughter-in-law, but seeing her attitude, she immediately dispelled this idea. Since the old lady had given them the cold shoulder, there was no need to rush to greet her. Seeing that the atmosphere had fallen into an awkward situation, Chu Xuanli hurriedly said, "Since my little sister is back, please sit down." Fortunately, because of Chu Shanha's firm attitude, the other members of the Chu family were still warm to Chu Xianyue, at least on the surface. After sitting down, some cousins immediately surrounded them and kept talking. Chu Xianyue and her daughters-in-law mingled with the women of the Chu family. They greeted them one after another and chatted about daily life. It was quite lively, but Qin Haodong's side was deserted. Only Chu Mingli was sitting here with him. The younger generation of the Chu family, led by Chu Mingsong, were still very resistant to Qin Haodong's return. Seeing this scene, they secretly sneered in their hearts. "I can't afford to offend you, but I'll ignore you. Let's see if you are embarrassed or not." Qin Haodong did not care about it anymore. He leisurely drank tea and ate dessert and melon seeds. In his opinion, it was best that these people did not come, which saved a lot of trouble. As time went by, more and more guests came to the Chu family to congratulate them. Chu Mingli also got up and followed Chu Xuanli to entertain the guests. Only Qin Haodong was left at the huge dining table. A sneer flashed across Chu Mingsong's face. "Aren't you awesome? Aren't you good at martial arts? Even if I don't use violence, I can still toy you to death." At this moment, the MC at the door shouted, "The Han family's patriarch, Han Wuji, has arrived." Everyone present was slightly taken aback when they heard this loud and clear shout. In the past, when the heads of the 7 great clans celebrated their birthday, the other clans would only send a second-generation disciple to congratulate them. It was very rare for the heads of the clans to come personally. They did not expect that Han Wuji would come personally today. After being slightly stunned, Chu Xianming immediately went forward and brought Han Wuji into the hall. Surrounded by many people, Han Wuji walked into the hall and said to Chu Shanha, who was sitting at the head of the table, "Patriarch Chu, I wish you a long life." The other party was also the head of a family, so Chu Shanha did not dare to be arrogant at all. He stood up and said, "Patriarch Han, I'm just celebrating my birthday. It's really an honor for you to come in person." Han Wuji only gave a simple greeting and then looked around the crowd. Chu Xianming quickly stepped forward and said, "Master Han, please take a seat in the VIP seat." With Han Wuji's identity, he was definitely one of the guests with the highest status. Logically speaking, he should sit in the VIP seat. However, he did not pay any attention to Chu Xianming next to him. Under the gaze of many people, he strode to the ordinary seats next to him. Seeing Qin Haodong sitting here alone, he immediately understood the meaning behind it. He could not help but feel happy. Although Qin Haodong had come to the Chu family, the relationship between them was not harmonious. This was definitely good news for the other aristocratic families. If the Chu family had the strong support of the Tang sect, they would not have any chance. The reason why he came to Chu Shanha's birthday today was to get closer to Qin Haodong. It seemed that this strategy was the right one. "Mr. Qin, do I have the honor to sit with you?" Qin Haodong looked up at Han Wuji. After all, he was Han Jieyu's grandfather and this old man had always been tactful. He nodded, pointed to the seat next to him and said, "Sit down." Seeing that Qin Haodong agreed, Han Wuji sat next to him with a happy face. Chu Shanhe sat in the main seat and could not help but feel annoyed when he saw all this. The descendants of the Chu family were really idiots. He had tried his best to invite Qin Haodong, but they could not see the importance of this overlord of the capital. If the juniors of the Chu family gathered around Qin Haodong at this time, Han Wuji would not be able to drive them away. But now, others had benefited from it. At this moment, Qi Guofan, the master of the Qi family, and Zhao Zhangqiong, the master of the Zhao family, arrived one after another. After a simple greeting, the two old men also ran to Qin Haodong and sat down next to him. It didn't take long for the masters of the 7 great families of the capital to gather together, but the other 6 gathered around Qin Haodong and talked to him like stars surrounding the moon. Qin Haodong just responded indifferently. At this time, even if the Chu family was stupid, they could see that the purpose of the 6 families was not to celebrate the birthday, but to please Qin Haodong. Chu Shanhe's face was livid. He tried his best to let Chu Xianyue and her son return in order to prove his relationship with the Tang sect to the other aristocratic families. As a result, these old foxes could see that the relationship between the Chu family and the Tang sect was not so harmonious. It was simply a waste of all their previous efforts. But there was no other way. After all, it was a birthday banquet and there were many guests. He could only endure it and wait for the end of the birthday banquet to teach these ignorant juniors a lesson. The complacency on Chu Mingsong's face had disappeared. Originally, he wanted to see Qin Haodong embarrassed and humiliated, but now, the masters of the 6 great families surrounded him like stars surrounding the moon. It was not a humiliation, but a kind of show-off. With the arrival of the guests, it was almost time. Next, it was time for the juniors to present birthday gifts to the old master. The MC shouted, "Next, let's invite the filial sons and grandsons of the Chu family to present gifts." According to the order of presenting gifts, the eldest son should go first. Chu Xuanli was also prepared. He held a big red gift box in his hand and said, "Father, today is your birthday. I wish you happiness and longevity." The family members standing next to him immediately stepped forward and took the gift box in their hands. At this moment, Chu Xianming, who was standing next to him, said, "Brother, should we show our gift to Father in public and let the guests see our filial piety?" Chu Xuanli hesitated for a moment and said, "Well, please excuse us." After that, he reached out and opened the gift box. There was a jade Buddha statue inside. The jade Buddha statue was about 20 centimeters high and was made of high-quality mutton fat jade. It looked crystal clear and it was obviously a good thing. After seeing the jade Buddha statue, the surrounding guests immediately began to talk about it. It's still the Chu family after all. Their son's gift is a jade Buddha statue. It's really extraordinary. In my opinion, this jade Buddha statue is worth at least millions of yuan. How is it possible? Such a big mutton fat jade Buddha statue is worth at least 10 million yuan. Chu Shanhe also nodded with satisfaction. Obviously, he was very satisfied with his son's gift. After the display, the family members put away the jade Buddha statue. It was Chu Xuanming's turn to present his gift. Everyone looked at him with interest and did not know what gift he had prepared for the old master. "Bring it up." Chu Xuanli waved his hand behind him and Chu Mingsong immediately came up with a huge gift box with 2 family members. It looked quite heavy. Under everyone's puzzled eyes, Chu Xianming opened the gift box and saw that there was also a jade Buddha statue inside. However, this jade Buddha statue was about 50 centimeters high. It was much better than Chu Xuanli's in terms of material and size. The guests burst into an uproar. "Oh my God, such a big jade Buddha statue, how much does it cost? Second young master is really generous. Not to mention the craftsmanship of the jade Buddha statue, such a big piece of jade is worth more than 100 million yuan. This jade Buddha statue is really beautiful. It's definitely a rare thing. Hearing everyone's praise, Chu Xianming said proudly, Father, I knew that you were going to celebrate your 80th birthday, so I asked people to look for this piece of good jade for 3 years. I also invited famous craftsmen to carve this jade Buddha statue for you as a birthday gift. It means that our Chu family will be blessed with Buddha's light in the future and that you will be healthy and live a long life. It's rare for you to be so considerate. A bright smile bloomed on Chu Shanha's face. Obviously, he was extremely satisfied with this reason. Chu Xuanli's face instantly darkened. He was just generous, but he was not stupid. Chu Xianming chose the same gift as him and took the initiative to show it to the public. It was obvious that he wanted to trample on him. Chu Xianming turned his head and said proudly, Brother, I'm really sorry. I didn't discuss it with you before. Look, our gifts are the same. In recent days, with the improvement of Chu Xuanli's cultivation, his status in the family was getting higher and higher. It was obvious that he was inferior to him. Today's gift was carefully planned by him. He had already heard that Chu Xuanli had prepared a jade Buddha statue, so he specially asked someone to make a bigger one with better material. His purpose was to surpass Chu Xuanli in front of everyone. Chu Xianyue, who was standing next to him, secretly shook her head. After so many years, her second brother still liked to play tricks. He even did not let go of his own elder brother. He had just trampled on his elder brother, so she was afraid that she would be the next one. Thinking of this, she turned to look at Qin Haodong next to her and said, Son, have you prepared our gifts? Qin Haodong smiled slightly and said, Don't worry. I'll handle everything. I won't let you lose face. As expected, as soon as they finished speaking, Chu Xianming turned around and looked at Chu Xianyue with a sinister smile. He said, Little sister, it's time for you to show your filial piety. Seeing that Chu Xianyue and Qin Haodong's hands were empty, he pretended to be surprised and said, Little sister, today is father's 80th birthday. Don't tell me you didn't even prepare a gift. Chu Xianyue looked embarrassed and turned to look at Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong gave his mother a comforting look, then took 2 steps forward and said to Chu Xianming, Do you mean that if I don't prepare a gift for the old master, it means that I'm not filial? Does the old master value money so much that he distinguishes the filial piety of his children according to the size of the gift? Chu Xianming wanted to improve his status in the family through the jade Buddha statue he had carefully prepared, but now he was blushed by Qin Haodong's words. If he said that Qin Haodong was right, then his gift would be prepared in vain. If he denied Qin Haodong's statement, it would be tantamount to saying that his father was a greedy person. At this time, Jin Xiuying, who was sitting next to Chu Shanha, snorted and said, You're so eloquent. Of course, our Chu family does not distinguish filial piety by gifts, but it's basic etiquette to send a birthday gift on the birthday of the elder. If you haven't prepared a gift, don't stand here and argue irrationally. Chapter 7:18. Over the years, she valued sons more than daughters, but between her 2 sons, she loved her youngest son the most. Seeing that Chu Xianming was frightened, she immediately stood up for him. Chu Xianming also came to his senses and said with a sneer, Although gifts do not fully represent filial piety, we still have to show basic etiquette. This is our duty as juniors. Don't you think so, little sister? Chu Xianyue nodded awkwardly and turned to look at Qin Haodong. She did not know what her son was up to. Since he had prepared a gift, why didn't he take it out? The others also looked over with curiosity, surprise, sarcasm, and ridicule in their eyes. Could it be that the mother and son really didn't bring anything when they returned to the Chu family? Of course, Chu Shanha did not dare to expect Qin Haodong to give him any valuable gift. When he was about to say something, he heard Qin Haodong say, Of course I have a gift. I'll show you now. After that, he turned to Chu Xuanli, Chu Mingli and Chu Ming. Hui and the other 2 said, First uncle, please come over with cousin and cousin. Now the people present were even more curious. Why did he ask Chu Xuanli to take the gift? Some people also saw the mystery from the way he addressed Chu Xuanli. Since Qin Haodong stepped into the Chu family, he only called Chu Xuanli uncle, which meant that he only recognized him as a relative. Chu Xuanli was also a little confused, but he still followed Qin Haodong's request and took Chu Mingli and Chu Ming with him. They walked to the center of the hall. Qin Haodong said to Chu Shanhe, master of the Chu family, "This is my gift for your 80th birthday." These words caused an uproar. What does this kid mean? Could it be that he's crazy? Using the grandpa's grandson as a congratulatory gift, only this person can do it. It's really too funny. It's fine if you can't take out a gift, but you're doing such a strange thing. Isn't this a disgrace? Chu Xianming sneered and said, "Haodong, what do you mean? Using our Chu family as a congratulatory gift, are you saying that you don't treat our Chu family as human beings?" His words were extremely sharp and immediately pushed Qin Haodong to the teeth of the storm. Qin Haodong ignored him and said to Chu Mingli and Hui said, cousin, show me your cultivation." The Chu siblings nodded their heads and immediately operated their true qi. A huge imposing aura burst out from their bodies, forcing the surrounding guests to step back. A 7th-level Supreme Power Master. The expressions of Chu Shanhe and the other 6 patriarchs changed drastically when they saw the scene before them. Although the cultivation of a 7th-level Supreme Power Master was high, it was not the top among the big families. However, he was only a young man in his 20s. Hui was only 18 years old, and it was extremely rare to have this kind of cultivation. Such a young man would definitely become a mainstay of the aristocratic families in the future when he grew up. Especially Chu Shanhe, he knew the cultivation of his grandson and granddaughter. Just a few days ago, they were only at the 2nd level of the Supreme Power Realm and the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm. He didn't expect that they would become 7th-level Supreme Power Masters in just a few days. How could he not be shocked? Chu Xuanming's face instantly turned cold. After working hard for so many years, coupled with the spirit culturing pill he bought a few days ago, he had just entered the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm. But the 2 juniors in front of him had only stayed in the Tang sect for a few days and they were also 7th-level Supreme Power Masters. How could he have any advantage? Qin Haodong looked at Chu Shanhe and smiled slightly. "Patriarch Chu, are you satisfied with this gift?" "Yes. Yes." Chu Shanhe nodded repeatedly and was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. For so many years, the Chu family's lack of young and old had been his biggest worry. Now that his granddaughter and grandson had grown up, the predicament was immediately alleviated. "Don't worry, there's more." Qin Haodong said to Chu Xuanli, "Uncle, it's your turn." At this moment, Chu Xuanli already understood Qin Haodong's intention. No wonder he was in a hurry to help them improve their cultivation yesterday. It turned out that he had already made arrangements. He no longer suppressed his cultivation. Under the operation of his true qi, a huge imposing aura belonging to a 9th-level Supreme Power Master burst out and instantly swept the whole place. Oh my god, he's actually a 9th-level Supreme Power Master. The patriarchs of the 7 great clans all stood up. Their expressions changed drastically. Chu Mingli and Chu Ming were just potential stocks and had not yet grown up, but Chu Xuanli's 9th-level Supreme Power Master was completely different. This represented the strength of an aristocratic family. Chu Shanchuan and Chu Shanhai, who had been sitting behind Chu Shanhe, stood up excitedly. He was a 9th-level Supreme Power Master who belonged to the Chu family. From now on, except for the Tang sect, among the 7 great families, only they had 3 9th-level Supreme Power Masters. This was definitely a reflection of their strength. Chu Xuanli withdrew his imposing aura and then led Chu Mingli and Chu Ming to the side. Satoshi retreated to the side, leaving the guests who were still dumbfounded. Qin Haodong looked at Chu Shanhe and said, Patriarch Chu, what do you think of my gift? Is it comparable to the jade Buddha statue just now? Only then did Chu Shanhe recover from the shock. He beamed with joy and said, Great, it's really great. This is the best gift I've received today. Even 1,000 jade Buddha statues or 10,000 jade Buddha statues can't compare to it. Chu Xuanming's face was pale and then there was a deep resentment in his eyes. Qin Haodong's move was really ruthless. Not only did he trample on the birthday gift he had carefully prepared, but he also helped Chu Xuanli improve the status of the family. He was a 9th-level Supreme Power Master who was just in his 40s. Moreover, he had the help of 2 7th-level Supreme Power Masters. With this kind of strength, it was impossible for him not to inherit the position of the family master. After the shock, everyone looked at Qin Haodong. Everyone knew that all of this was caused by the young man in front of them. In just a few days, he had made the status of Chu Xuanli and his son in the Chu family change dramatically. Seeing that her favorite youngest son was defeated, Jin Xiuying's lips moved and she wanted to say a few words to help her son, but she could not find a suitable topic. She could only stare at Qin Haodong with resentment. If it weren't for him, how could her son have fallen into such a situation? Qin Haodong did not pay attention to this. After presenting the gift, he pulled his mother back to her seat. On the side of the Chu family, the other collateral nephews continued to present gifts. However, compared with just now, there had been a subtle change in the situation. After seeing Qin Haodong's magical ability, the people of the Chu family, whether they were direct or collateral relatives, all wanted to curry favor with Qin Haodong. In their opinion, as long as they could send their children to the Tang sect, it would be equivalent to reaching the sky in a single bound. Their cultivation would be improved and their status in the family would naturally rise. But it was too late. Sitting next to Qin Haodong were the heads of the other 6 families. Even if these people wanted to curry favor with him, they could not find a suitable opportunity. In endless regret, these people stared at Chu Mingsong fiercely. If it weren't for him secretly playing tricks, they would have gone to Qin Haodong to build a good relationship with him. Maybe they would have agreed to let their nephews enter the Tang sect. In desperation, these people turned to Chu Xianyue and surrounded her tightly, trying their best to curry favor with her. On the other side, Tang was playing with some children of the Chu family. Qin Haodong never cared about children's affairs. As long as Tang was happy, she could play with anyone. Time passed little by little. The gift-giving was about to end and the birthday party was about to begin. But at this moment, there was a crash next to them. The sound was very loud and crisp. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound and saw that in front of a group of children, the jade Buddha statue that Chu Xianming had just presented had fallen to the ground and broken into pieces. Chu Xianming had already prepared today's gift. Before this, he had told a family member to put his gift in the most conspicuous position so that the guests would pay attention to him at all times. The family member also followed his arrangement and put the jade Buddha statue on top of the other gifts. As the saying goes, the higher you put it, the harder it will fall. At this time, the valuable jade Buddha statue had become a pile of pieces and had no value to speak of. Jin Xiuying was already in a bad mood and she was full of anger. At this time, when she saw the jade Buddha statue was broken, she immediately roared, "What's going on? Who did it?" Seeing the old lady fly into a rage, more than a dozen children standing there dispersed. In the end, only Tang and Chu Yuliang, whom she met at the airport, were left. As the saying goes, love the house and its crow. Because of her preference for Chu Xianming, Jin Xiuying also doted on her great-grandson very much. Her tone softened a little and she said, "Yuliang, tell me who broke this jade Buddha statue." Chu Yuliang looked embarrassed. I. After a while, he suddenly raised his hand and pointed to Tang next to him. "It's her. She broke the jade Buddha statue. After all, the little fellow was just a 4-year-old child. She was stunned when she saw this kind of thing. After hearing Chu Youyang's words, she quickly waved her hand and said, "It's not me. It's not me," but Jin Xiuying did not care about this. She immediately shouted to the family next to her, "No matter whose child it is, beat her hard for breaking the jade Buddha statue of the master." Because of the chaos at the scene, no one knew who had brought this lovely little girl. But when they heard that Jin Xiuying wanted to beat such a little child, everyone looked at each other and secretly cursed that this old woman was really vicious. However, Jin Xiuying had accumulated a lot of power in the Chu family. These juniors and relatives of the Chu family did not dare to say anything. After all, it had nothing to do with them. They just needed to watch. Although the two family members were very helpless, they did not dare to disobey Jin Xiuying's orders. They could only reach out to grab Tang Tang. Facing two tall and strong adults, the little fellow was a little scared. She stood there in a daze and did not know what to do for a moment. At this moment, a loud shout full of anger was heard, "Whoever dares to touch my daughter, I will kill him." Then a huge momentum burst out in an instant, directly sending the two family members flying and knocking over countless gifts again. Under everyone's surprised eyes, Qin Haodong stepped over and reached out to hold the little fellow in his arms. Seeing the broken gifts, Jin Xiuying was even more furious. Her body trembled all over. She raised her hand and pointed at Qin Haodong, shouting, "You're rebelling. You're rebelling." At this time, the frightened little fellow reached out and hugged Qin Haodong's neck. She whispered in his ear, "Papa, it wasn't Tang Tang who broke it. It was that little brother riding a scooter. He broke the jade Buddha statue." Qin Haodong turned his head to look at Chu Youyang. It was true that dragons gave birth to dragons and phoenixes gave birth to phoenixes. Chu Xuanming's grandson had been so scheming since he was a child. He had caused trouble and blamed it on his daughter. Chu Youyang was shocked when he saw the look in Qin Haodong's eyes. He hurriedly ran to Jin Xiuying's side, hugged her thigh and shouted, "Great-grandmother, it was not me. It was Tang Tang who broke it." Jin Xiuying believed her great-grandson's words. She had been holding a grudge against Qin Haodong for a long time. At this time, it exploded in an instant and she even lost her mind. A bastard is a bastard. Her daughter is still a bastard. She has no manners at all. How dare she break the jade Buddha statue of the old master? Come on, beat them together. She had lost her mind, but others did not. Qin Haodong was not someone they could afford to provoke. Although she shouted happily, no one dared to move. Chapter 719. What Qin Haodong hated most was being called a bastard. What he cared about the most was the daughter in his arms. Now the vicious old lady in front of him had called his daughter and himself a bastard, which had completely pierced his bottom line. The murderous aura on his body suddenly condensed and spread out, making it hard for everyone in the hall to breathe. Chu Xianyue rushed over and stood in front of Qin Haodong. "Haodong, don't be impulsive. No matter what, this was her biological mother. She could not watch her die in the hands of her son." Jin Xiuying was frightened by the soaring murderous aura at first, but when she saw Chu Xianyue rushing over, she immediately shouted more fearlessly, "Bastard, you're a bastard. You don't know how to respect the elders and don't know the family rules." Before she could finish speaking, Qin Haodong flicked his fingers and a few gusts of wind shot out. Jin Xiuying stood there like a wooden sculpture and could no longer make a sound. Chu Xianyue was shocked and quickly cried out, "Haodong, what did you do to her?" "Don't worry, I just hit her acupoints to make her mute." Qin Haodong had just sealed several acupoints of Jin Xiuying. If he let the vicious old lady continue, he really could not control the killing intent in his heart and kill her with a sword. At this time, Chu Xianming came over. He did not dare to face Qin Haodong, so he said to Chu Xianyue with a gloomy face, "Little sister, your granddaughter broke my jade Buddha statue. Can't I say a few words? Chu Xianyue immediately said, is this a matter of saying a few words? Tang Tang is still so young and she actually wanted to hurt her. Is it wrong for Haodong to stop her? Chu Xianming said with a cold face, anyway, this is the jade Buddha statue that I carefully collected. It's a birthday gift for the old master. It was broken just like that. Shouldn't there be an explanation? Chu Xianyue said, isn't it just a jade Buddha statue? We'll pay for it. Chu Xianming sneered and said, pay for it? This is not about money at all. Do you know how much manpower and financial resources I spent to collect such a big piece of jade? Now it has been broken. Can you find me such a big piece of jade? This, Chu Xianyue was speechless for a moment. She was not short of money, but it was really not easy to find such a big piece of jade. Qin Haodong said, do you think this jade Buddha is great? Chu Xianming said, of course. I spent 300 million yuan on this raw stone alone. With the craftsmanship of a skilled craftsman, it will cost at least 500 million yuan. And this is only a preliminary estimate. No matter how much money you have, you can't buy such a good thing. Qin Haodong smiled disdainfully. He turned to the outside of the hall and waved his hand, saying, bring it up. The surrounding people were extremely surprised, not knowing what he was going to carry up. At this time, Zhang Tiniu came in with 8 other security guards of Daddy Security Company carrying a big box. The big box was about 2 meters square and looked very heavy. No one knew what was inside. Qin Haodong asked several people to put the box in the middle of the hall, and then opened the packaging and lid. A huge jade Buddha appeared in front of everyone. Oh my God, how can there be such a huge jade Buddha in this world? My God, what did I see? Such a big piece of jade, and it's of the ice type. The knife skills of this jade Buddha are so good. It's obviously made by a master. It's much better than the small jade Buddha just now. There was no harm without comparison. As soon as Qin Haodong's jade Buddha appeared, Chu Xuanming's jade Buddha became pitifully small. It was crushed into pieces in terms of craftsmanship and material. This jade Buddha was the Jade King that Qin Haodong had brought back from Myanmar. He had been left in Jiangnan and asked Su Haichuan and his son to carve it. It had just been carved in a few days and sent to the capital. Qin Haodong glanced at Chu Xianming, who was stunned, and said, how is it? How is my jade Buddha compared to yours? Chu Xianming came to his senses and there was a flash of greed in his eyes. He said, yes, it can be used as compensation for my jade Buddha. As soon as he finished speaking, the guests next to him immediately burst into an uproar. How can there be such a shameless person? This jade Buddha is worth at least billions of yuan. It's much better than his, that's right. This is the supreme jade Buddha. What's his? It's nothing compared to this. You're so thick-skinned. How can you say such a thing? Aren't you blackmailing us? Qin Haodong looked up and glanced around. He looked at Chu Shanhe, who was silent next to him, and said coldly, this jade Buddha was originally a gift I prepared for my mother today. If the Chu family treated me with courtesy and let my mother feel the value of family affection, this jade Buddha would be nothing. But you also saw how the Chu family treated my mother and my son since we entered the door. Has this vicious old lady ever treated my mother as a daughter? Although you seem to be polite, it's not family affection. You're just afraid of my strength. Therefore, the Chu family doesn't deserve my jade Buddha at all. They can only bring it back to our Tang sect. After the guests saw this jade Buddha, they immediately knew that it was worth at least billions of yuan. At this time, they all felt sorry for the Chu family. It's a pity. The Chu family really doesn't know how lucky they are. They have such a good daughter and such a good grandson, but they actually drove them out. They deserve it. That old lady is really unreasonable. She doesn't even have any family affection for her daughter. Isn't she her own daughter? She's not only unreasonable, but also vicious. Such a young child is so cute, but she still wants to hurt him. This kind of patriarchal thinking is really disgusting. Hearing the discussion around them, the masters of the other 6 great families all smiled happily. Just now, Qin Haodong had helped the Chu family create a 9th-level Supreme Power Master, and they were still very nervous. They were afraid that with the support of the Tang sect, the Chu family would be above the other great families. Now it seemed that there was no need to worry about anything. The Chu family was stupid enough to drive Chu Xianyue and her son out. Chu Shanhe also realized the seriousness of the problem and quickly said, "Haodong, listen to what you said. In fact, this is all a misunderstanding." Misunderstanding? How can there be a misunderstanding? Qin Haodong said, "This jade Buddha was broken." The old lady did not ask about the truth at all. "You believed whatever the Chu family said. My daughter wanted to defend herself, but you did not give her a chance at all. Is this a misunderstanding?" Chu Xianming said, "In fact, it was your daughter who broke this jade Buddha. What else is there to defend?" Qin Haodong glared at him coldly and then waved his hand to call the family member who was guarding the gifts over. He directly used the mind-manipulating skill and asked, "Tell everyone, how did this jade Buddha break?" The family member said, "It was young Master Yu Yang. He has been playing with his scooter here. We tried to stop him several times, but we failed. In the end, he broke the jade Buddha. This little girl was wronged." Qin Haodong looked at Chu Yuliang, who was peeping from the side. "Tell me the truth. Who broke the jade Buddha?" Chu Yuliang said, "I broke it, but I was afraid of being punished. Grandpa and Dad hate the little girl's father very much, so I said that she did it." He glanced at Jin Xiuying, whose acupoints had been sealed, and then turned to look at Chu Shanhe. "Did you hear that? Is this the misunderstanding you mentioned?" Chu Shanhe was speechless. At this time, he hated his disappointing son very much. He was thinking about how to save the situation in front of him when he heard Chu Xianming shouting hysterically, "Qin Haodong, what are you so arrogant about? Don't think that you can become an aristocratic family just because you have some masters. Let me tell you, the strength of the aristocratic families is beyond your imagination. Today, I will let you stay in prison." As soon as he said this, the family masters of the other 6 aristocratic families almost laughed out loud. They were very happy to see the Chu family and the Tang sect officially fall out. At this time, 4 or 5 uniformed policemen came in from outside. After entering the door, they asked, "Who is Qin Haodong?" "I am." Qin Haodong answered and then looked at Chu Xianming with a sneer. "It seems that you have been planning to deal with me for a long time." Chu Xianming said proudly, "Today, I will teach you a lesson. I will let you know that you can laugh in the end with your brains." Qin Haodong smiled slightly and said, "Okay, then I will learn from you." At this time, the policeman walked up to Qin Haodong. The middle-aged police officer in the lead said, "I am Gao Feng, the deputy captain of the crime squad in the eastern district of the capital. Someone reported that you killed someone on purpose. Please cooperate with us for the investigation." After hearing Gao Feng's words, the others suddenly fell silent. They could not accept the accusation of killing someone on purpose. Once it was confirmed, they were afraid that they would really have to stay in prison for the rest of their lives. The family masters of the other 6 aristocratic families had a sarcastic smile on their faces. It was a despicable way to use the power of the government in the battle between the aristocratic families. They really did not know if Chu Xianming had lost his mind. How could he call such a stupid way of doing things with brains? Qin Haodong did not look flustered at all. He said calmly, "Officer, who did I kill? Who is the witness?" Before Gao Feng could speak, Chu Xianming shouted, "At the engagement party of the Qi family, you killed Master Yuan Tianren with your own hands. Qin Haodong looked at him coldly and said, I killed him. Did you see it? Hearing this, Gao Feng also turned to look at Chu Xianming. Although I didn't see it, many people present saw it. Chu Xianming pointed to the family masters of the 6 aristocratic families next to Qin Haodong and said, you all saw it with your own eyes. Gao Feng looked at Han Wuji, who was the closest to him, and asked, Sir, did you see it with your own eyes at that time? Yuan Tianren is indeed dead. I saw it with my own eyes. Just when everyone's hearts were in their throats and they thought that Han Wuji was going to testify against Qin Haodong, he smiled and said, but he died of a heart attack. It has nothing to do with Mr. Qin. After that, he looked at Chu Xianming sarcastically and thought to himself, I can't wait to curry favor with the Tang sect. How could I be as stupid as you? Then the other 5 old men also stood up to testify that Yuan Tianren had died of natural causes and had nothing to do with Qin Haodong. This. You are lying. You are covering up for Qin Haodong. Although Chu Xianming was scheming, he still misjudged the performance of the family masters of the 6 aristocratic families. He had thought that as long as he stood up, the 6 aristocratic families would definitely join him to overthrow Qin Haodong, but he had misjudged the situation. He did not know that after the incident with Yan Feifei last time, if they were not 100% confident, the 6 aristocratic families would definitely not have the courage to fight against Qin Haodong head-on. Chu Xianming suddenly had an idea. He turned to look at his father, Chu Shanhe, and shouted to Gao Feng, my father witnessed Qin Haodong kill Yuan Tianren with his own eyes. He told me the news. He can also stand up to testify. After he finished speaking, everyone's eyes were focused on Chu Shanhe. Chu Shanhe's face was livid. He wanted to strangle his disappointing son. Wasn't he trying to kill his father? Chapter 720. Because it was confirmed that Qin Haodong had killed someone, Chu Xianming did not use any connections. Gao Feng handled the case impartially. He looked at Chu Shanhe and said, Old Master Chu, is that so? Did you see Qin Haodong kill someone intentionally? No, I also saw Yuan Tianren die of a heart attack with my own eyes. It has nothing to do with Mr. Qin. Chu Shanhe gave a very positive answer and then said, Officer, my son is a little drunk. Don't listen to his nonsense. You'd better go back. Like the masters of the other 6 great families, he did not think that Chu Xianming could defeat Qin Haodong, so he would not stand up to testify. Gao Feng knew that this was the Chu family in the capital, so he did not dare to hold Chu Xianming responsible for making a false report. He turned around and said politely to him, Mr. Chu, it seems that this is a misunderstanding. If you don't have any evidence, I'll go back. Chu Xianming said anxiously, Officer Gao, you can't go. I'm telling the truth. Qin Haodong did kill Yuan Tianren, but these people are afraid of him, so no one dares to stand up to testify. Gao Feng glanced at Qin Haodong and then at the masters of the big families sitting next to him. It was not his first day as a policeman in the capital. Although he was not a martial artist, he knew that these old men were the masters of the big families in the capital. Even their director did not dare to offend them. How could they be threatened by this very ordinary young man? He did not smell any alcohol on Chu Xianming. If it were not for the power of the Chu family, he really wanted to catch this guy and take him back to have a blood test to see if he had taken drugs and why he was talking nonsense with his eyes wide open. Gao Feng said patiently, Mr. Chu, we, the police, need evidence to solve a case. Call me when you have concrete evidence. After that, he was about to leave. Chu Xianming grabbed his big arm, pointed to the 2 injured family members next to him and said, Officer Gao, even if this matter does not count, Qin Haodong has other cases. Just now, he injured 2 of us. The 2 family members had just been sent flying by Qin Haodong and their faces were swollen. There were indeed bruises all over their bodies. Qin Haodong frowned. It seemed that Chu Xianming was determined to fight with him to the end, but he did not want to waste time like this. He said to Gao Feng, "Officer, please go back. Even if I really kill someone, it's not your business." Gao Feng was speechless. Why did the people from this big family talk incoherently? It was okay for Chu Xianming to talk nonsense, but why did this young man not speak seriously? When he was about to say something, Qin Haodong said, suddenly, a certificate appeared in front of him. Gao Feng's heart skipped a beat when he saw the ID. As the deputy captain of the Imperial City's criminal police force, he was different from other police officers. He was very sensitive to such special IDs. He took the certificate from Qin Haodong, checked it carefully and gave it back with both hands. Then he saluted and said respectfully, "Mr. Qin, I'm sorry to bother you. I'll go back now." After that, he waved to the policeman behind him. They left the banquet hall in a hurry and ignored Chu Xianming. The people present were confused. They didn't know what kind of ID it was to make the police so respectful. Qin Haodong turned around and said to Chu Xianming with a sneer, "What else do you want to say? I'm still waiting for you to teach me a lesson." Although they were far away and no one could see Qin Haodong's ID clearly, Chu Xianming was standing next to him and he could clearly see the words, "Xianyuan Pavilion," on it. After a slight pause, he laughed again and said, "Qin Haodong, don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you're a member of the Xianyuan Pavilion. Today, I've prepared a few dishes for you. Since the first one doesn't work, look at the second one." Seeing that he was going on and offending Qin Haodong more and more, Chu Shanhe said angrily, "Second brother, what are you doing? Go back and put yourself in confinement. Don't make trouble anymore." "Dad. Don't worry, I'll definitely bring Qin Haodong down today." Chu Xianming shouted like crazy, "So what if he's a member of the Xianyuan Pavilion? Based on his age, he's at best a pawn. I've invited the leader of the Xianyuan Pavilion. Today, I must make him lose his reputation and die without a burial place." After he finished speaking, the masters of the 7 great families all changed their expressions. How could the major families living in the capital not know about the Xianyuan Pavilion? It was the supreme existence of the special department of Wuxia. There were many masters and it restricted all the martial artists in Wuxia. The leader of the Xianyuan Pavilion had a noble status and did not have much contact with the major families. How could it be possible that Chu Xianming said that he had invited the leader of the Xianyuan Pavilion? At this moment, there was a disturbance at the door of the hall. Everyone turned their heads and saw a woman in white walking in. This person was dressed in a long white dress and had long hair. She carried a sword on her back and her face was as beautiful as a fairy's, but she was extremely dignified. The woman in white walked into the hall step by step. Soon, everyone was surprised to find that her feet were not on the ground, but walking in the air. All the men from the aristocratic families changed their expressions. This was a Saint Realm expert. When he saw the woman in white, Chu Xianming immediately ran up excitedly and said, "Xianyuan Pavilion leader, you're finally here. I'll tell you that this guy named Qin Haodong is the one who colluded with the Devil Gate." Just a few days ago, at the engagement banquet of the Qi family, someone saw his woman, Nalan Wuxia, use the heavenly devil hand. This news is absolutely true. This time, ordinary people did not have much reaction, but the expressions of the masters of the 7 great families changed greatly. They all knew the woman in white in front of them. She was the leader of the Xianyuan Pavilion and also the sword master of the Zihang Sword House, Xianyuan Ligay. Previously, Yan Feifei could only be regarded as the top master among the 7 great families in the capital, but Xianyuan Ligay could be said to be the top master in the entire capital and even in Huaxia. They also knew that the Zihang Sword House and the Devil Gate had been mortal enemies for so many years. Chu Xuanming's move could be said to be extremely insidious. The aristocratic families of the Shenyuan Pavilion could be said to mind their own business. But if they vented their anger on the Tang sect because of the Devil Gate, even if the Tang sect also had a saint, Yan Feifei, they would not be able to escape the fate of destruction. Chu Xianyue also knew the existence of the Shenyuan Pavilion, but she did not know the relationship between Qin Haodong and the Shenyuan Pavilion. When she saw the leader of the Shenyuan Pavilion coming in person, she was shocked and worried for her son. Seeing everyone's shocked expressions, Chu Xianming felt proud. It seemed that he had really hit Qin Haodong's weakness this time. No matter how strong the Tang sect was, could it be stronger than the Shenyuan Pavilion? No matter how powerful Qin Haodong was, could he be more powerful than Shenyuan Ligay? Just when he was feeling proud, he saw Feng Wu and Hu Shaoxian step out from the women behind Qin Haodong. They came to Shenyuan Ligay and said respectfully, "Greetings, Master. I'm Hu Shaoxian." "Greetings, Pavilion Master." Everyone was stunned. No one had expected that there was a member of the Shenyuan Pavilion in the Tang sect and that Feng Wu was Shenyuan Ligay's direct disciple. Seeing this scene, people's hearts skipped a beat. If these two women pleaded for Qin Haodong, they might be able to escape this disaster. Chu Xianming was a little flustered. He hurriedly said, "Pavilion Master Shenyuan, the Devil Gate is a great enemy of Wuxia. You must not let them go." Just when he was still talking, a scene that shocked everyone happened. Shenyuan Ligay stepped in front of Qin Haodong, bowed and said, "Shenyuan Ligay of the Zihang Sword House greets Mr. Qin." In order to keep the secret of the Sacred Master, she did not call Qin Haodong the Sacred Master in public, but her respectful expression did not diminish at all. This time, everyone could not calm down. The masters of the 7 great families suddenly stood up as if their butts were on fire. They could not believe what was happening in front of them. My God, what did I see? The leader of the Shenyuan Pavilion is bowing to a young man. What the hell is going on? Bro, am I dreaming? Shenyuan Ligay is actually greeting a young man. What the hell is going on? Is this person fake? Is he a temporary actor hired by Qin Haodong? *T, the temporary actor you found can have his feet off the ground. How can he pretend to be a saint? Besides, who dares to pretend to be the leader of the Shenyuan Pavilion? Isn't that courting death? Qin Haodong still sat there with a calm expression. He waved his hand and said, "Please sit down, Pavilion Master Shenyuan." Shenyuan Ligay said respectfully, "With Mr. Qin here, how dare I sit down?" Seeing that Shenyuan Ligay was so respectful to Qin Haodong, the masters of the 7 great families were all shocked. Chu Shanhe even felt like he had been f***ed. What was wrong with the world? What kind of person was this grandson of his? Could it be that he was an immortal? There was probably no other person in Wuxia who could make the leader of the Shenyuan Pavilion so respectful. Qin Haodong then said to Shenyuan Ligay, "Pavilion Master Shenyuan, why are you here? What's the matter?" Shenyuan Ligay said, "Well, the Chu family reported that you were in touch with the Devil Gate. I think someone is going to make trouble for you, so I came here to have a look. Do you need me to help you solve it?" Plop. After Shenyuan Ligay finished speaking, Chu Xianming felt dizzy. His legs went limp and he fell to the ground with a plop. Originally, his plan was extremely thorough. He used the Devil Gate as a clue to invite the leader of the Shenyuan Pavilion. Then he could catch all the people of the Tang sect in one fell swoop. Not only Qin Haodong, but also Nalan Wuxia and the others would not be able to escape death. But he had never expected that Shenyuan Ligay and Qin Haodong were on the same side and she seemed to be a servant. The reason why she agreed to come here was that she wanted to teach him a lesson. Was there anything more tragic than this? Forget it, I'll solve it myself. Qin Haodong waved his hand and asked Shenyuan Ligay to stand aside. Then he said to Chu Xianming, "Mr. Chu, you used a series of tricks very well. One trick after another. Is there a second trick?" Seeing that Xianyuan Ligay immediately stood behind Qin Haodong respectfully, Chu Shanhe sighed in his heart. His son, who thought he was smart, was completely finished. Moreover, he had also harmed the entire Chu family. He was afraid that after today, the Chu family would be removed from the capital. The masters of the other 6 great families sat next to him and secretly rejoiced. During this period of time, they had constantly improved their judgment of Qin Haodong's strength, but today it seemed that they had underestimated the young man in front of them. It seemed that from now on, the Tang sect would be the leader in the capital and other forces would not be able to shake it at all. Not to mention other things, the Xianyuan pavilion was definitely incomparable to others. After the shock, Chu Xianming got up from the ground and shouted with a fierce look, "Qin Haodong, don't think that you will win. Let me tell you," Qin Haodong sneered and said, "Are you going to tell me that the tea is poison and ask me to kneel down and beg for mercy?" Chu Xuanming's mouth, which had just been closed, suddenly opened again and he asked in horror, You already know." Qin Haodong drank up the tea in front of him, then looked at him and said, "I have to say that you are very scheming, but there is a famous saying in Wuxia that if you know yourself and your enemy, you will always win. I also have a nickname, Medical Sage. Your poison is not even enough to fill the gaps between my teeth." Chapter 721. Hearing that there was poison in the tea, there was a commotion among the people around, especially the masters of the other 6 families. Their faces immediately darkened. They did not know if there was also poison in their tea. "Don't be nervous, everyone. He doesn't have the guts to poison everyone." Qin Haodong picked up his teacup and twisted it hard with both hands. The base of the delicate porcelain teacup was twisted off. He raised the base in his hand and said, "This cup is called the Immortal Cup, which is specially used to poison people. There are a few small holes where the base is connected to the top, but they are all smeared with special wax oil, so the naked eye can't see them at all. When poisoning, you only need to put the poison in the base and then give it to the person. At the beginning, because the poison did not overflow, the other party would not be able to find it no matter how vigilant they were. But as time went by, the other party's vigilance gradually decreased. At this time, the wax oil melted in the heat and the poison continued to overflow, turning the tea in the cup into a cup of deadly poisonous tea. So don't worry, this poison is only in my cup. You are all safe." Everyone was stunned. There was actually such a poisonous artifact. The intention was really ingenious. Some people picked up the teacups in their hands and tried, but no matter how hard they tried, they could not turn the base off. After confirming that they were not poisoned, these people were relieved. In fact, they were completely worried. If they were poisoned, their bodies would have reacted long ago. After all, they did not have Qin Haodong's physique that was immune to all poisons. On the other side, Chu Shanhe had completely sunk to the bottom and there was no longer any joy on his face. If the previous contradiction could be resolved, now he was completely standing on the opposite side of the Tang sect. From another perspective, if someone poisoned him, he would never forgive the culprit. He didn't expect that his birthday banquet would be ruined by this stupid mother and son. After Qin Haodong introduced the Immortal Cup, he said to Chu Xianming, "What do you think? Mr. Chu, am I right?" Seeing that Qin Haodong was not poisoned, Chu Xuanming's last trump card had been used. He was no longer as calm as before and his face was pale. "Haodong, I was wrong. I was really wrong this time. For the sake of my status as your uncle, please forgive me this time." Chu Xianming no longer cared about his identity and face. He knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Qin Haodong to beg for mercy. Then he begged Chu Xianyue next to him, "Little sister, please say something for me. I'm your brother." Chu Xianyue directly turned her face to the side. At this time, her expression was also very ugly. If it was other things, she could help to say a few good words, but poisoning her own son was simply unforgivable. Seeing that his sister ignored him, he turned around and begged Qin Haodong. Of course, Qin Haodong would not be fooled by his pity. This kind of person was a poisonous snake. If you let him go today, he would bite you tomorrow. Tell me, what poison did you give me? What's the purpose? As he spoke, he immediately used the soul-devouring technique. This poison is called Thousand Opportunity Poison. After it enters the human body, it will change its location every 2 hours. There is no antidote at all. If you can't get the antidote within 24 hours, all the places that the Thousand Opportunity Poison has passed through will start to fester, and eventually, you will die slowly due to your body rotting. Too vicious. There's actually such a vicious poison. How can the poison be detoxified if it changes its location every 2 hours? He poisoned his own nephew. Is he still a human? It's really hateful. Under the control of the soul-devouring technique, Chu Xianming did not care about the condemnation of others at all. He continued, even if I get the antidote, I can't fundamentally cure the Thousand Opportunity Poison. It can only temporarily relieve the poison's effect. Hearing this, the crowd, who had just quieted down, became excited again. Hearing this, the crowd, who had just quieted down, became excited again. If he could control Qin Haodong with the Thousand Opportunity Poison, it would be equivalent to controlling the entire Tang sect. Now the Tang sect dominated the entire capital. Controlling the Tang sect was equivalent to dominating the capital. It could be seen how ambitious Chu Xianming was. At the same time, everyone also understood why Chu Xianming took the risk. It turned out that he had a big plan. Qin Haodong asked again, since you found such a rare poison, why did you still use those despicable means to deal with me? Chu Xianming was like a good child and answered every question. I know that you are very difficult to deal with, so I can't walk on one leg. So I thought of many ways to distract you and let the Thousand Opportunity Poison take effect. At this time, the masters of the 7 great families realized that Chu Xianming was not stupid, but too shrewd. At the same time, a deep fear of Qin Haodong arose in their hearts. Even such a vicious plan could not do anything to him. It could be seen how difficult it was to deal with this person. Qin Haodong continued to ask, ordinary people can't make this Thousand Opportunity Poison at all. Where did you get it? Chu Xianming said, my son, Chu Mingsong, bought it from a woman named Qian Meihui. That woman is still hiding in his room. Chu Mingsong had been hiding behind the crowd. He had thought that his father would not throw him out. He had never expected that Qin Haodong would have such a magical skill as the soul-devouring technique. Now when he heard that his father had also recognized him, he turned around and was about to run away. However, he was kicked down by Chu Mingli, who was standing next to him. Then he lifted his collar and threw him in front of Qin Haodong. Now Chu Mingli regarded his cousin as a god, but he dared to poison his own god. Even his own cousin could not do it. Qin Haodong waved his hand and Ma Wenjue and Zhang Tiniu immediately rushed to the residential area of the Chu family's manor with their men. He turned around to look at Chu Mingsong and asked, how did you know Qian Meihui and how did you cooperate with her? After being taught a lesson by you at the airport that day, I felt very aggrieved, so I went to the bar to drink. I met Qian Meihui there. I saw that she was beautiful, so I wanted to get a room with her to vent my anger. I didn't expect that she would take the initiative to tell me that she had a blood feud with you and wanted to deal with you with me. I immediately agreed. After that, she gave me this fairy cup and Thousand Opportunity Poison and taught me how to use it. In order to avoid my suspicion, she returned to the Chu family's villa with me at night and did not leave. She waited for my news there. Qian Meihui had a blood feud with me. Qin Haodong searched his mind from beginning to end, but he could not remember when he had met such a person. At this moment, Zhang Tiniu walked into the hall with a beautiful woman. The moment he saw the woman, Qin Haodong immediately understood that she was not Qian Meihui, but Chiba Mieko from Neon. A few months ago, Chiba Mieko had attacked him at the exchange meeting between Wuxia and Neon. He did not kill her, but only destroyed her cultivation. He did not expect that this woman would be so vindictive. After such a long time, she still came to Wuxia to attack him. After arriving at the hall, Chiba Mieko looked calm and did not show much fear. She glanced at Chu Xianming and Chu Mingtsong with disdain and said, "You two are really useless. I'm so disappointed in you." Then she looked at Qin Haodong and said, "You damn Wuxia man, how dare you destroy my years of hard work. During this period of time, I have been studying poison and concocting the 1,000 opportunity poison that has no antidote at all. I thought that I would definitely kill you this time, but I didn't expect that these two stupid guys were so useless that they were discovered by you." Qin Haodong looked at Chiba Mieko coldly and said with a murderous look, "I've already let you go last time, but you still came here to poison me. Do you think that I don't dare to kill you?" Chiba Mieko smiled proudly and said, "You're right. You really don't dare to kill me, because my grandfather is Kyo Chiba, the sage of Neon. My grandfather didn't agree with me to practice martial arts, so it's okay for you to destroy my cultivation. But if you dare to kill me, my grandfather will definitely kill you and all your relatives." Hearing that this Neon woman turned out to be Kyo Chiba's granddaughter, many of the martial artists present were moved. Kyo Chiba had dominated Neon for many years and was known as the #1 martial artist in Neon. Although Kyo Chiba had not fought for many years, he was recognized as a saint-level master. Although the Tang sect now dominated the capital, Kyo Chiba was definitely not someone to be trifled with. No one knew how the young man in front of them would deal with this Neon woman. Everyone's eyes were focused on him. Qin Haodong sneered and said, "Kyo Chiba. Do you think that an old man from Neon can scare us Wuxia people?" A sneer appeared at the corner of Chiba Mieko's mouth. "Am I scaring you? Do you know why I didn't leave but waited to be caught by you in the Chu family? Because this is also one of my plans. If the 1,000 opportunity poison doesn't kill you, you can catch me. It's best if you can kill me and then let my grandfather avenge me. Then you will definitely die. This Neon woman is really abnormal. She can even come up with such a method for revenge. I think this woman is bluffing. She doesn't want to die at all. I don't know if Qin Haodong dares to kill this woman. Her grandfather is the sage of Neon." While many people were discussing, Chiba Mieko raised her chin and said provocatively, "What do you think? Do you dare to kill me?" "As you wish." After that, Qin Haodong flicked his finger and a wind shot out, piercing into Chiba Mieko's left chest. Chiba Mieko had no cultivation at all, so her heart meridians were immediately broken. Her eyes widened and were full of unwillingness. Obviously, she did not want to die and did not believe that Qin Haodong would really dare to kill her. But everything had become a reality. A few seconds later, her body fell to the ground with a plop and she was no longer breathing. Seeing that Qin Haodong even dared to kill the granddaughter of the Sage of Sword, Chu Xianming and Chu Mingtsong were scared out of their wits. They quickly knelt on the ground and begged bitterly. "Don't kill me. Please don't kill me. We are blood relatives, Haodong, I'm your uncle. I can give you all my property over the years, but please don't kill me." Qin Haodong looked at the two people in front of him coldly and said in a cold voice, "As Wuxia people, when you colluded with the Neon people to poison me, did you ever think that we are blood relatives? When you schemed against me one after another, didn't you think about the consequences of failure?" At this time, everyone present could feel the murderous intent emanating from him and realized that the two people seemed to be in danger. However, because of Qin Haodong's majesty, no one dared to stand up and speak. Chu Shanhe stood next to him. He saw that his son and grandson's lives were hanging by a thread, but he had no ability to stop them. He turned his head to look at Chu Xianyue, hoping that his daughter could come forward to stop them. However, Chu Xianyue did not even look at him. She had no intention of coming forward. Although Jin Xiuying's acupoints were sealed, she could see all this clearly. Her expression constantly changed. Obviously, she was anxious for her favorite son and grandson, but now she couldn't say a word, and her body couldn't move at all. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.